Good evening to you, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Road to Etoudi. It's our utmost pleasure to have you in another edition of this program where we bring on board experts as well as journalists to come and talk about the 12th of October presidential election. The latest news we are having in Cameroon now is that Issa Tchiroma Bakary has released official results of the presidential elections in the Vina, that's a locality in Adamawa region of Cameroon, and also in Vuri. We'll be coming back to the details of that just very shortly. But it's been 1 week since Cameroonians went to the polls in what has been described as one of the most decisive elections in the country's history. So the National Vote Counting Commission was supposed to have concluded its work, but for some reason, they appear to have published their findings in the center region. They appear not to have published, let me be very precise. They appear not to have published their findings for the center region, which is one of the biggest in terms of number of voters. There are questions as to what is preventing the elections governing body and the Constitutional Council from getting results from this particular locality, whereas they have from other regions, including the diaspora already. These are areas that are far away from the center region where the vote counting process is taking place. But why is the process in the center region, the results in the center region still not available? So when they will make their publication, attention will shift to the Constitutional Council, which will now hear petitions before officially proclaiming the winner. But while the nation awaits Issa Tchiroma Bakary, president of the Cameroon National Salvation Front, the FSNC, has already declared victory, claiming to have won in 18 divisions, representing nearly 80% of the total electorate. He's now restricted all communication within his party and authorizing only his campaign director, who is Dr. Chris Mannings, to speak publicly on his behalf. Meanwhile, ordinary Cameroonians are so far very anxious. They are also hopeful. Others are fearful. Others are skeptical as they await what could be a very, very defining moment in the country's political history. Remember that since independence in 1960, Cameroon has had only 2 presidents. So for many, this election represents a once in a generation opportunity for change in the country. But today, I'm not going to be doing that alone. I'm going to be accompanied by a lady and a gentleman. They're already here on standby. Sandrine Yamga, our colleague, and also Bernard Ngalim, our colleague as well. Hello, Bernard. Hello, Sandrine.
Hello, bonjour. Bonsoir. Bonsoir,
Bonsoir.
Mimi. Bonsoir à tous. Merci à vous d'être au rendez-vous. On vous le disait il y a quelques heures, beaucoup de sujets encore à éplucher autour de l'élection présidentielle du 12 octobre dernier. Et comme on le voit, les jours ou les minutes passent très, très vite. Et puis, on est presque au bout de la publication officielle des résultats par le Conseil constitutionnel. Mais dernière nouvelle, comme Mimi l'indiquait il y a un instant, c'est que Issa Tchiroma Bakary a commencé à publier ce qu'il estimait les résultats qui sont sortis tout droit des bureaux de vote. Et il a dit dans une autre communication, bien avant la publication, c'est qu'il publierait tous les endroits autour des villes où il y a le plus grand fort d'électorat, alors qu'il le donnerait normalement vainqueur à la dernière élection présidentielle. Alors, on va en discuter de tout ceci au cours de ce programme. Merci encore. Merci d'être là.
Thank you, Sandrine. Bernard, Issa Tchiroma Bakary is acting before the Constitutional Council and Elecam. Hello.
Thank you, Mimi. Good evening, Sandrine. Good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, dear viewers. It's a pleasure to be back here with you. The tensions are high and the expectations are high. Everyone wants to see where change is going to come from. And Tchiroma is being Tchiroma. He said, si vous ne connaissez pas Tchiroma, je suis Tchiroma. And he's taking the very steps that we have not seen in the past, verifying results and giving us what we need to see. And these are the results directly from the polling station. And this makes sense because when I hosted Michelle Ndoke before the elections, when she and Kingsley were talking to my audience about the diesel platform, I questioned them. Nobody's going to trust Elecam and the the results you say you are going to get from your platform are definitely not going to be admissible before the Constitutional Council. So what do you want to do with those results? And they told me it is better we have these results and give it to the court of public opinion, that is the public, to see for themselves the difference between what came out of the polling stations and what Elecam is declaring, thereby making it evident that the results from Elecam may not be valid, may not be true, may not be the actual results that came out of the polling stations. And Tchiroma is already doing that. And I'm also very happy that we're going to have Metro Sim today, who was talking on Canal 2 today. He didn't get the opportunity to clear his thoughts about the results that were reported in by Elecam to by the Divisional Counting Commission to the National Counting Commission, and the necessity to understand that the results from the polling stations, that is the PVs, are not of any significance before the National Vote Counting Commission. So I think that just is going to give us some more information about that, and we're going to understand the legality and the legitimacy of the results that we have at this point. Thank you so much, Mimi.
Yes, thanks again. And today we'll be looking at what it means after Issa Tchiroma Bakary started releasing results in some areas, like we've seen in Adamawa region and also in Vori in the littoral region of Cameroon. What are the implications and what are Cameroonians going to be saying about that? Some experts will be joining us tonight to talk about it. And we also have Sandrine, a lot of questions that we'll be asking tonight as well, the aspect of diplomatic pressure that everyone seems to be talking about, and citizen action to ensure that transparency is guaranteed in the 12th of October presidential election. Sandrine, we have more questions that we'll also be looking at tonight.
Il y a énormément de questions à se poser parce qu'il y a quelques jours, on évoquait déjà les questions autour de la fraude, autour de la transparence. On sait à présent que la Commission nationale de recensement de vote est presque à la fin de son travail, mais on s'interroge encore et on se demande pourquoi est-ce que jusqu'à présent, la ville de Yaoundé ou alors la région du centre n'a pas encore été explorée. Ça donne quand même à s'interroger lorsqu'on sait que la commission siège au Palais des Congrès, qui est à Yaoundé. Et donc, normalement, on se dit que les premiers procès-verbaux qui devaient être sur sa table, ce seraient normalement ceux qui sont autour de Yaoundé. Alors, ça donne à s'interroger sur le travail de la commission. On sait également qu'il y a quelque temps, le représentant de M. Issa Tchiroma Bakary, qui était M. Issa, voilà, à cette commission, a arrêté de suivre les travaux, estimant que, je pense qu'on en parlera avec Maître Sim dans un instant, refutant la façon de travailler à ce niveau de recensement des votes. Alors, je pense qu'il y a énormément de questions sur lesquelles on va se pencher tout au cours de cette émission.
Yes, and also, Bernard, I think that other than, what is eventually going to happen if the final results announced by the Constitutional Council do not reflect the votes from the ballot box, we also have more questions to ask tonight.
Absolutely, and that boils down to the legitimacy of the whole electoral process. I discussed with an elections expert yesterday on my platform, and he's going to join us in a moment. He worked with Elecam in the past, and he's an international elections management expert based in the United States. He works with all elections management bodies across the world, and he's very knowledgeable on these issues. At the end of our podcast, he gave a warning. He said, if the National Vote Counting Commission's job does not end in a way that everybody is satisfied, and especially the representative of Issa Tchiroma Bakary's party in that commission comes out feeling that what was done was justice, was legitimate, Cameroon may be moving towards a cliff. And he's not saying this only because he's a Cameroonian. He's saying this because he has observed elections throughout the world. His depth of knowledge is not questionable. Nobody can question his depth of knowledge. I actually shared the podcast, and many of my friends who are lawyers, professors of law, professors of political science are commending his contribution in that podcast. They say it is deep, it is reflective, it is educational, and it is insightful. So at this point, all eyes are turned to the Vote Counting Commission and to the Constitutional Council, because the stability, the safety, and the durability of Cameroon lies in their hands. Cameroonians across the board believe that Issa Tchiroma Bakary won the elections. So if what comes out of that commission does not reflect what Cameroonians are thinking, Cameroon may be on the precipice of chaos, and that is what nobody wants.
And above all, also the future of the country lies in their hands. It's so great to hear that a lot of people are looking at, they're bold enough to say what could potentially happen in Cameroon if the will of the people is not respected. And we've seen a lot of legal minds, legal experts, political scientists, analysts, and even activist politicians themselves have been speaking up about the same thing. It means that it's actually a big problem if that is not looked into by those who are supposed to be releasing the results, like the National Vote Counting Commission and the Constitutional Council. But just to tell our viewers that this program is being streamed on the platform of Beyond Africa podcast, and also Mimi Mefo Info and the Cameroon News Agency platform on YouTube. We are also streaming live on the Twitter account of Rebecca Enonchong. Wherever you're watching us from, please subscribe. Continue to subscribe to our different social media platforms so that as soon as we are live on here, you'll be able to get a notification. And please keep commenting, keep sharing as well. Share this particular live stream with all those in your neighborhood, in your localities, wherever you are watching from. Please share so that we can have more and more people to join this important conversation tonight. And
Mimi, before you go, just to say, we love the comments. Keep the comments coming, because the comments make us think. The comments give us more context, and the comments give us some information that we don't have. All the questions, we love them. All the doubts, we love them. And we help clarify where we can. Where we cannot, we will not touch them. Some of our questions are actually out of your comments. So keep the comments coming. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that precision, Bernard. So we are going to receive our first guest for tonight, because we are expecting to receive, like we said, Barrister Emmanuel Sim. We are also expecting to receive other analysts as well, experts in elections, speaking out activists, as well as Rebecca Enonchong will be coming here. We'll also be having Paul Mbafo of UNDP, as well as Fabrice Lena. But for now, we are having an official of the Social Democratic Front Party, Mr. Ndifo Richard, who is already on standby and waiting to respond to our questions. Hello, Mr. Richard, welcome. Good evening.
Hello, welcome, Mimi. Thank you so much, Mimi, and thanks for having me on the show. It's always a pleasure to be on your show, and thanks for having me. I also want to say a very good evening, or is it morning, to Sandrine and to the rest of the host.
Yeah, the pleasure is ours as well. Sandrine, you want to go first with Mr. Richard and Ndifo?
Okay.
Maybe.
Hello, Richard. Bonjour, bonsoir.
Bonsoir.
Okay, which one do you prefer, having the question in English or in French?
I'll prefer in English.
Okay.
But is it okay if I ask in French and then you can reply in English sometimes?
Yes, perfect.
So, okay, I will go softly. Like, first question will be in English. So what do you think as a citizen of Cameroon? That's the first question for you. About what is happening now, about the presidential election. What are your thoughts?
Well, Sandrine, I think like any other Cameroonian, I'm in a state of panic. I am uncertainty and fear. Personally, I feel like it's not going to be very easy for the regime to easily give up. We all know who has won this election. But we think that it's going to be pretty difficult for the regime to give up easily. They will always want to cling on to it, and my fear is that it might lead to instability. Just like I think Bernard rightly said, there is a lot of tension, especially here in Boya, where I am. There is what I would call uneasy calm everywhere, and so that is the situation right now in Cameroon.
But why are you panicking? You are a member of the Social Democratic Front. That means you follow the election, not like a regular, I would say like a regular citizen. That means you know what happened. You were in the polling station. Why are you panicking?
Well, like I explained, I am panicking because I do not trust the regime to easily give up. I do not trust them to, if they actually lost the election, for them to easily give up power. You know, for a group of people who have almost made Cameroon their personal property, who have almost made Cameroon look synonymous to them owning the territory, it's going to be very, very difficult for them to give up. We've already seen some of the statements of the Minister of Territorial Administration, Mr. Tanganji. When you read his statement, that doesn't sound like a statement of somebody who is even doubting whether they are going to still remain in power or they are going to be out of power. He talks very comfortably as if he is already very certain that they will still be in power after the declaration of the results. And when you start get that kind of feeling, that kind of statement, it gives you the feeling that they are not willing to give up, even if they happen to lose the election.
And then what are you thinking about what is going on actually? Like Mr. Tchiroma started like publishing some results. So what do you think about those?
Well, Sandrine, to be honest with you, I cannot, in good conscience, vet those results with any degree of certainty. Just like I cannot vet what the Counting Commission is doing, because I have not had access to the PVs, to the process verbals that they used to come out with those results. Perhaps if Mr. Tchiroma, like the others, if they are presenting the results with evidence, the PVs and all of that, which is what I would have encouraged someone like Mr. Tchiroma to do, because what the regime does is that the regime always question how credible is your data, and so to deprive them of that argument, it would have been a great idea if he published those results alongside with the evidences, that is with the PVs. I know those PVs are many. There are so many of them, and it becomes a little bit difficult to put all of them together. But if he has those results, it means he has those PVs too. And so
ça veut dire que vous ne croyez pas en ce que M. Tchiroma dit? Ou est-ce que vous ne croyez pas à ce qui va venir de la Commission nationale de recensement de vote?
Yeah, what I'm saying is that he has not told us how he got those results. So I cannot just see the results because he published them and I vet them 100% as correct. Just like we are doubting what is coming out from the National Vote Counting Commission, it is just but normal that we may have some doubt with any other results that do not follow with strong evidence to suggest that those results are credible.
But si vous ne croyez pas, M. Tchiroma, vous ne croyez pas aux résultats de l'élection Cameroun ou de la Commission nationale de recensement de vote, qui est-ce qu'on doit croire? Vous êtes quand même militant du SDF.
Yeah, that's a very good question. Again, I want to believe that the results that are vetted by all the parties, because what we should understand is that we have the Divisional Vote Counting Commission, like we are talking about Wuri. There is the Divisional Counting Commission at the level of Wuri, and then before it gets to the National Vote Counting Commission. Now, what I would like to know is whether the result, whether it is the one from the National Vote Counting Commission or is the one that Issa Tchiroma is presenting, if they align with what the Divisional Vote Counting Commission is presenting as the result in that division.
Yes, but what I wanted to come in here quickly and just say is, and officially tell everyone watching, is that Issa Tchiroma Bakary is publishing them with the PVs. because
these
clearly,
are the PVs on screen already.
yes, he is publishing all of the results with the PVs because he had clearly announced that he had access to the PVs. You can see these are the PVs on our screens as well. So he's not just publishing the results. But Mr. And for Richard, I've been seeing you being very vocal on your social media platform. You've made posts saying a national disgrace, and you've also said things like Cameroon has suffered decades of silence and manipulation. This time people are watching. No more stolen mandates, no more coronations. Every vote must count on, and every a voice must be heard. But these statements are coming after the Social Democratic Front chairman, Honorable Joshua Osei, and presidential candidate conceded a defeat, though he cited irregularities. So when you are talking of national debates and the fact that the people's votes must be counted and that we shouldn't, it's not going to be a coronation, what exactly do you mean?
All right. What I mean, and I would like to make this clear, that this is not just about the SDF. Yes, I had a candidate during the presidential election, which was Mr. Joshua Osei. We did poorly in that our performance was not good. That is something we must admit. The national chairman has admitted that we lost the election, but then we also need to admit that this is about democracy. This is about the survival of democracy in Cameroon. It's not just about the SDF. And so if actually Mr. Tchiroma won the election, he should be given the chance to govern. That is my point. My point is that what I am seeing coming out from the different regions, more specifically from the Northwest and Southwest region, they are alarming. They are embarrassing. Those are the things I call national disgrace. Because I don't see how, in good conscience, anybody would tell me that participation in a war-torn area is up to 90%, and then in areas that are very peaceful, we are having participation rate of 54%, of 50%, and all of that. It doesn't make sense at all to anybody. And then some of the numbers that we are getting, there are polling stations that we have even some of our observers in those areas claiming that there were nobody actually voted in those areas and that the places were actually deserted. But we are hearing numbers going up to the thousands of people who have voted the CPDM. So those are the things that make those results from those regions, they are very, very doubtful. Not only doubtful, they are alarming. So
yes, Mr. For Richard, before Bernard comes in, I just wanted to find out from you because you say that it's a national disgrace and that it shouldn't be a coronation anymore. People are tired of what has been there, which implicitly means that is the ruling CPDM. It means that the CPDM has to give way to the opposition, and it should be one of the opposition parties that took part in the election on the 12th of October. Can we specifically know which opposition party you are talking about, since you have clearly said the SDF did not perform well in the election? Are you talking about Issa Tchiroma Bakary, or is there any other party? And is it your personal position or the position of the SDF?
All right, Mimi, let me first of all clarify to say that when I say that there's not going to be any coronation, what I mean specifically is that in the past, we have seen that Biya has simply been coronated. He has never won an election, so to speak. He has simply just been coronated as a king. And what I'm saying is that such a coronation is not going to take place again, irrespective of who is it. It doesn't matter if it is the opposition or the ruling party. Whoever wins should be the winner. That is the point I'm raising. Now, when we get to the point of, when my conviction, like those of many others, but again, I want to be clear, I do not have any evidence to back my conviction, but from the trends and from what we are seeing, I have a strong belief that Issa Tchiroma is performing great. But again, I don't want to make any definite conclusion. But my own observation is that Issa Tchiroma is doing perfectly great. And then when I
thank you, Mr. Ntandifon.
Yes.
Mr. Ntandifon, thank you for that. Does that mean that the chairman and the candidates communique was not communicated within the party, or how did the party arrive at the conclusion that the chairman lost the elections?
Yeah, well, I think in that communique it's clear that from our own internal polls, from our own internal tallies, we have seen that we do not have any path to victory. We do not.
So
have
from your own internal tallies, the SDF chairman OC does not have any path to victory. Who has a path to victory from your internal tallies?
Well, Bernard, like I said already, I don't want to talk about the internal tallies.
You are already talking about it. Why don't you just take it to the end?
No, I do not have the mandate to talk about the tallies, the internal tallies. I have a limit to that. I can only talk about what
that sounds like the SDF not wanting to be transparent with what they have. If the SDF has data that shows that they lost, they definitely have data that shows who is leading according to their tallies. Why shouldn't the SDF help Cameroonians with that data?
No, it is not obvious, Bernard. It is not obvious that if you have data that shows that you are losing, then automatically you should have data that shows the
it is obvious that if you have data that shows that you are losing, from that particular data you know your stand. So from that particular data you know who is first, second, third, fourth, or fifth. So what is the position in the SDF tallies according to who is leading the polls right now?
What I can only tell you, and before I even say that, what I can tell you is that Issa Tchiroma and Paul Biya are the two top contenders. Those are the two top contenders. That one is very clear. But to tell you that this or that person is leading, I am not privy to that information.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Let's go to another question that I have.
Yes. So I just wanted to follow up on that, Bernard, because it's quite interesting. Sorry for interrupting, but if the results are officially released, standing for Richard, I know you as someone who have always known you as someone who stands for what you think is right. If the official results come out and the CPDM is winning, the CPDM candidate who is President Paul Biya is winning, what will you do? What will you do? Let me talk about you first before the SDF, because you're here on individual capacity.
Exactly. And that is what I wanted to make clear to Bernard, that I am here as for Richard. I am not here representing the SDF, so to speak. And the reason I'm not representing the SDF is because I am not privy to those data you are talking about. I am not working at the call center in Yaoundé where those tallies are being populated. So I cannot give you any concrete evidence or any concrete facts about that. Now, coming to my personal opinion, I already said very clearly that my personal observation is that Tchiroma is leading. That's my personal observation. I was around Boya here. I was moving from one police station to the other, and I saw all what was happening. Then again, the simple fact that we have the result from the Northwest and the Southwest with alarming figures, unrealistic figures, I can already start feeling like whatever will come out from the Constitutional Council is not going to be the will of the people. And I do not think personally, conscience, I am going to validate those results.
Bernard.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ms. Ntandifon. I just wanted to follow up on your statement about the voting in the Northwest and the Southwest. You are scrutators, or your polling agents, or your party representatives have told you that the reporting we are seeing does not represent what actually happened. That's the number of voters. Does your party have any PVs, any result sheets that they can put in the public domain for us to appreciate this? Because I am from Bui. I see the results from Bui. I know what is happening in Kumbo. That 16,000 people cannot go to vote in Kumbo or in Bui division. So can we have that, the data from the SDF at least? Can you request that from your party to put that in the public domain?
Well, I believe that the party can do that. But again, I do not want to speak on behalf of the party.
Yeah, please. After this podcast, could you go to your party and say, Cameroonians through this platform are asking for that data? We need to see it.
Absolutely. I promise you, I'm going to do that internally. I'm going to ask that within our next forum. I'm going to present this in that forum. And in fact, I've been doing so. I've been receiving the same comments you are talking about. And when I got those kind of comments, I forward them directly into our next forum, and hoping that whoever is in charge of that is going to respond. But just to make it clear that I am not part of those who are doing the tally, and so therefore it will be unfair to the party for me to be speaking in that capacity.
We respect your honesty about party representation, and we want to keep that very mindful of the fact that you are not speaking for the party. You are speaking on your own recognizance, but still, you know what is happening in the party. Thank you.
Okay, just a question about it, Richard. Alors, est-ce que c'est une démarche que vous pensez que tous les partis politiques devraient faire en ce moment? Ça veut dire qu'on est dans un moment un peu critique où la Commission nationale a des résultats, où des personnes estiment que cela vient des Cameroun, ces résultats auraient été falsifiés. Est-ce que c'est une démarche que vous pourrez recommander à tous les partis politiques, en plus de M. Issa Tchiroma Bakary, tous les candidats qui étaient à la dernière élection, de peut-être présenter tous les procès-verbaux? Est-ce que c'est une démarche qui, pour vous, semble être juste et honnête pour tout le monde?
Yes, I believe if I got you clearly, I don't know if I got your question clearly. I'm sure you're trying to find out if it is right for the candidates to put out the PVs the result at their disposal, to put it out there in the public domain.
Absolutely. Yes.
All right. So what I will tell you is that personally, I feel that it is an obligation for these parties and for the purpose of transparency, because we are living in a context where it is shrouded with a lot of distrust. It's shrouded with a lot of fear and panic, like I mentioned. It would be just normal for these political parties to put out the PVs and those results out there in the public domain. Nothing in the law, don't mind what Atanganji said, nothing in the electoral code forbids people from putting out those results. And so therefore people are free to put out those results. The only thing that the electoral code says is that it is only the result from the Constitutional Council that is going to be official, or that is going to be officially recognized. But then it does not deprive people, for the purpose of transparency, to put out the result at their disposal.
Okay. Bien, alors aujourd'hui, la position du SDF, comment est-ce que vous l'entrevoyez? Est-ce que le SDF devrait prendre position sur tout ce qui se passe encore autour de la présidentielle? On sait que M. Joshua aussi a déjà reconnu que les résultats ne lui étaient pas favorables. So, qu'est-ce que vous pensez que le SDF devrait faire dès maintenant?
Well, again, what the best I can tell you is that the party chairman has taken a position. It is not going to be fair for me to be making any contrary statement from what my national chairman has said.
So that means you have something in your head that might be the contrary of what he said?
Of course, I have my personal position, and I've already made my position very clear.
But is there a way that you can share it within your party?
Of course, I'm doing that. And one thing you should understand is that the SDF is a very open political party. The chairman does not decide everything, and so therefore, within the party, the communication is going on. We are having the discussions, and we are trying to see how we can strategically communicate the position of the party.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Mr. Andy, for Richard, I know that you said you are not here under the capacity of the the Social Democratic Front Party. But I just have a question. Please feel free to tell us that you cannot respond if it's not a question that should be answered by you. That the question that I had was the vote counting process officially is over, according to the latest information that we're getting from Yaoundé, because when we started this program, Sandrine, I remember we were saying that the process was still ongoing. But the declarations of the Social Democratic Front Party chair saying that the will of the people should be respected. He was talking about irregularities and that, making a lot of promises as a leader, that the leader that he is. And some Cameroonians who read what Honorable Joshua Osei said were kind of hopeful. Do you think, because you're promising that the SDF will do something, you talk with the other party members and officials to see what to do. Do you think that the SDF can stand its ground based on what the party saw on the field on the 12th of October? I mean, in terms of the results, will the SDF be able to stand alongside the people to ensure that their votes are respected? Is that something that you can guarantee the thousands of Cameroonians watching tonight?
Most definitely. The SDF, even from its slogan, says power to the people. And we are going to stand on the side of the people, irrespective of what. The party is going to stand on the side of the people. They are going to stand in defense of the right of the people's voice to be respected. And so that is something that is not up for any debate, not even within the party. And this is not about, it's not about an individual, it's about the party as a whole. We are going to stand with the people and uphold the voice of the people to be respected.
And before Bernard comes in, Sandrine, I think there's also another question around this vote counting commission that has now ended. When you say that the SDF will be able to stand with the people, when is that going to happen? When are we talking about? When is that going to happen? Is it now, or tomorrow, next week, or after the publication of the results?
Mimi, you realize that we have already filed petitions in the Constitutional Council. And the reason for that is because of some of the reason is to call for cancellation of those results, especially those in the Northwest and Southwest region. And I saw a lot of people trying to twist this to make it look like the SDF is trying to undermine Issa Tchiroma's victory. That's what I saw some bloggers trying to put. But that is false. That's not true. What the party is rather doing is that the party is calling for the cancellation of something. We cannot say that results, like Bernard quoted the situation of we cannot have those kind of results. And then we say that calling for those kind of results to be cancelled means that we are undermining the victory of Issa Tchiroma. It doesn't make sense to me at all. It doesn't make sense. That is where we stand. By saying that those alarming figures, those figures that are unbelievable, should be cancelled, it means that we are standing on the side of the people. We have already started doing that by filing this complaint at the Constitutional Council, calling for the cancellation of those very ridiculous figures that are coming from the Northwest and Southwest region. And if at the end of the day, the results published by the Constitutional Council do not reflect what we have in our data, then we'll definitely oppose it. We'll definitely stand against it. We'll speak out against it. And probably, hopefully, that's what I'm hoping, the party is going to present the results, publish the results that we have in our publication.
Thank you so much, Richard. In fact, calling for the cancellation of the results in the Northwest and the Southwest regions would definitely play to Issa Tchiroma Bakary's advantage if those results are if the elections in those two regions are annulled, because since all the results played into Paul Biya's favor, that is going to take votes away from Paul Biya, and that would mean Issa Tchiroma Bakary would maintain his lead. So we're not here to be aggressive on the SDF. We're just here to make sure that the population understands where we stand. And to the viewers, please, we have these guests because we respect them and we know that their contribution is valuable. You can disagree with the guests, but please, no insults. Thank you. Richard, at this point, we are facing a situation where everyone understands that maybe the Constitutional Council is not going to declare results that reflect what came out of the ballot box. Your candidate has already realized that, or the SDF has realized that your candidate lost the elections. And the leading candidate has said that if the Constitutional Council does not proclaim results that align with those of the ballot box, he's going to stand up against those results. So far, your candidate has not said who won, but if push comes to shove, is the SDF discussing anything about joining Mr. Tchiroma to ensure that the Constitutional Council reach the right results, or that if they reach the wrong results, the rightful winner is installed as the president of the republic?
Yeah, Bernard, that is what I've been trying to explain here, that our goal is to ensure that the rightful winner is declared as the winner, and that the rightful winner is installed as the president of the republic. We stand with the results, the voice of the people. Whatever the people have decided should be respected by the National Vote Counting Commission and should be respected by the Constitutional Council.
And if the Constitutional Council does not respect those results, and the FSNC and Issa Tchiroma Bakary are taking all the necessary measures that they believe they have at their disposal to ensure that the Constitutional Council, or that the Issa Tchiroma Bakary is installed as the next president of Cameroon, is the SDF willing to cooperate at this point? Because before the elections, the SDF said they are not going into any coalition. Can they join a coalition at this point to ensure that the opposition leader is the next president of Cameroon?
Bernard, let me inform you that the SDF already had a coalition even on the field or during the election.
Let's look into the future. Let's look into the future, yeah.
Yes, we monitored the elections with all the other candidates. So we already started collaborating with the other opposition parties. Again, we are willing to stand by Issa Tchiroma. If Issa Tchiroma is actually the winner, if he's actually the voice of the people, and the Constitutional Council ends up not declaring him as the choice or as the winner, we are going to stand with him to defend his victory.
All right. Before Sandrine comes in, are you on the scale of 1 to 10? Where do you stand on the fact that the Constitutional Council can actually declare the person you believe is the winner, that is Issa Tchiroma Bakary? What is your trust for the Constitutional Council?
1 on 10.
1 on 10. So by this, we are expecting that you are lobbying your party to support Issa Tchiroma Bakary to fight for his victory. Is
Absolutely.
that a point? All right. Thank you, Sandrine.
Question pour vous, Richard Difo. Quelles seraient pour vous les réformes que le SDF devrait prendre dès maintenant? Il y a eu beaucoup de discussions. Et je me souviens, on a eu une discussion avec M. Joshua aussi sur cette plateforme. Et il a affirmé qu'il avait beaucoup de stratégies, il savait quoi faire parce qu'ils sont habitués au terrain, à l'élection présidentielle. Mais ça semble ne pas avoir fonctionné. Quelles pour vous seraient les bonnes réformes, les bonnes décisions que le SDF doit prendre pour les échéances futures? On a les municipales et législatives qui arrivent bientôt.
Yes, Sandrine. I think the very first thing we need to do, that I believe we need to do as soon as possible, is for the National Executive Committee of the party to meet as soon as possible. During that meeting, it is my hope that the members of the National Executive Committee are going to look each other into the eyes, be frank to each other. We evaluate what went wrong, what we failed to do, what we would have done differently. We evaluate all of this, and then we adopt recommendation moving forward.
But do you actually believe of the chances of the SDF, like in a like political map in Cameroon?
Yes, I think that I hope and I believe that immediately after our evaluation, the SDF is going to have a rebrand. SDF is going to rebrand itself. It's going to completely adopt new strategies, new approaches in the way it does things. I think I must be honest with you to tell you that the result is a punishment to the party. The result is it's something that I should be telling you, but it's something that's obvious that the electorate have told us that what we were selling was not what they needed. And so then we need to go back to the drawing board and look at each other into the eyes and ask ourselves, what are we going to do next moving forward? And I think that we have some very great minds in the SDF, and I believe that these great minds, they're going to sit down and come up with some wonderful strategies that is going to rebrand the party. But what I know for sure is that the SDF after this presidential election is never going to be the same SDF again.
Pensez-vous que le SDF doit regretter, est-ce que, je ne sais pas si je dois dire son attitude ou son comportement, avant, ça peut sembler être des mots un peu durs, mais est-ce que vous pensez que le SDF doit regretter de n'avoir pas voulu faire coalition avec les autres partis en liste lors de la présidentielle dernière?
Yeah, that's a difficult question when you say the SDF. The SDF is not one person, you know. The SDF is not me. It's not the national chairman. It's a whole lot of people. Maybe.
But in your point of view, do you think that it was something that you should have been looking for, like thinking about?
Yeah, personally, I believe very strongly that it was a mistake.
Clearly.
Yes, I believe it was a mistake that we did not listen to the voice of the people. We need to be humble. We need to be humble to admit this mistake if we have to move forward.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that means it's something that you might have as a discussion in the neck, like in the SDF, to think about.
Of course, that is going to come up very powerfully because, of course, every political party exists because of its constituents, because of its base, and whatever the base tells you, you must sit back and say, "Oh, perhaps they punished me because I did not listen to them." And in this election, everybody can see that it's not about what is telling NEC or whoever. It is about what we have seen. Perhaps we were thinking that was not the reflection of the voters. That was not what the voters wanted. We thought that sometimes you have social media booths that does not really reflect the will of the people. And so we thought that we should allow the people, the voters, to make a choice among the different candidates. And the voters clearly indicated in the polls that the choice we made was not the best choice for them.
Yeah, so before Mimi comes, une dernière question pour vous. Est-ce que vous pensez que le SDF doit changer de stratégie pour les prochaines élections qui arrivent? Et quelles seraient pour vous les bonnes stratégies à utiliser pour être sûr de regagner la confiance auprès du peuple, auprès des Camerounais? Parce que vous l'avez bien dit au départ, il y a eu, en fonction de vos votes, des comptages que vous avez faits, le SDF n'était pas en très bonne position. Qu'est-ce que le SDF doit faire dès maintenant pour essayer de regagner la confiance des Camerounais à leur accorder encore des votes? Parce qu'il y a des places pour des mairies ou pour l'Assemblée nationale qui seront en jeu très bientôt.
Yeah, Sandrine, I earlier explained to you that I come out here on a platform like this to start telling you what the SDF is intended to do and all of that because.
But if you have to suggest, okay, let us put it that way. If you have to suggest something.
All right. If I have to suggest to the party, like I said, the first thing will be for the party to start listening to its constituents. Start paying attention to what the constituents want. That is number one. I think that is the first that we need to into them, listen to their priorities, what is priority to them. And politics is more or less like a business. If you are selling what your clients do not like, they will never buy it. And so therefore, if your clients say this is what we like, we should start listening to them and know what they want and say exactly what they want to them. I think personally.
Yes, Mr. Andy, for Richard, just before we conclude, because our next guest is waiting, and Bernard will have to come in quickly and introduce our guest. This might be an opportune moment for the Social Democratic Front Party to also, change a lot of mindset. I mean, change a lot of things, and how it is. I don't want to be pessimistic, but I'm looking at how people are reacting and what people are saying. And given that you've kept insisting that the will of the people, what the people stands for, is what the SDF stands for, because the power goes to the people, we have to also take into consideration what they are thinking and what they are saying. Do you think that this might, I'm not talking about after or next year or the municipal and legislative elections. I'm talking about this particular election, because this is something that is so dear to Cameroonians. For the first time, they have some sort of hope that something can change. Do you think the SDF will be able to seize this opportunity to make a difference in the country's political landscape and stand out from all the other political parties and listen to the people and do something different? Do you see this happening?
Yes, that's what Mimi, I said. The SDF is going to do what is right. What is right in the interest of the Cameroonian people, what is right in the interest of Cameroon as a whole, and what is right in the interest of the party. But first of all, what is right in the interest of the Cameroonians themselves. And so, trust me, the SDF is going to stand on the side of the people.
Thank you so much, Mr. Andy. For Richard, do you have any final words, maybe for Cameroonians who are still very skeptical about the electoral process? I mean, just briefly before we go, what is your final message to Cameroonians? And also thank you, because you really had to struggle to be where you are to communicate with us tonight. But do you have any final words for Cameroonians before we go?
I just want to encourage Cameroonians to be calm, to be patient, and but also to be vigilant and see what comes out. If what comes out is not satisfactory to them, I will also encourage them that they have a right to protest. Protest all you want, but I will pray you not to be violent, because when you become violent, it works against the same against your cause. So my wish is that Cameroonians, if they are not satisfied with what come out, they should peacefully protest as much as they want to protest. Millions of Cameroonians can come out and protest, but that they should stay peaceful in their protest.
Thank you so much, Mr. Andy, for Richard, and talk to you again. Bernard, I know that you're supposed to continue right now, but I just want to acknowledge that we received some support from Professor CH. We can see that you supported us, Bernard, Sandrine, and myself via the MMI YouTube platform, and we want to really acknowledge and thank you for that. We don't get to see that very often, and we just want to appreciate that. You thought about us, you thought about the three of us hosting this program tonight, and we just want to say thank you. I don't even have words to say, but thank you so much. Bernard, the floor is yours now.
Thank you so much, Mimi. Thank you so much to all those who are chipping in the support. And Mimi is mentioned the three of us, but behind us is a whole team of people who are working
Yes.
tirelessly to make sure that these images are moving on and off. And
We will
welcome
share the
back
copy.
to the studio. Yeah. So
Yes.
to the back team, thank you so much for letting this happen. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, you are on the Mimime for Beyond Africa and CNA platforms where we are giving you updates on elections in Cameroon. We are bringing in key actors, key stakeholders, and experts who understand what is happening in Cameroon's electoral process. We are now going to receive Mr. Henry Oben. Mr. Henry Oben is a former ELECAM official, and he is now an international elections observer. He works from the United States, where he coordinates elections and training of election management board officials throughout the world. He observes elections and prepares people or prepares countries to transition from bad democratic governance systems into good democratic systems. I had an awesome conversation with him yesterday. He's somebody I've known for a very long time. I had an awesome conversation with him yesterday. We've received many commendable comments about that conversation, and people really wanted to hear from him about Cameroon's electoral system. Before we dive into the questions, let me let Sandrine and Mimi welcome you to the platform, Henry.
Hello, sir. Welcome. Thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you, Mimi. Thank you very much. I've been following your programs. So many of them are very interesting programs that you got there.
Merci.
Thank you.
Bonsoir et bienvenue à vous, Monsieur Henry.
Merci, Sandrine.
So thank you and welcome to this platform, Henry. We had this conversation yesterday, and before the conversation, the final vote counting commission had not concluded their report. We've just received reports now from CRTV Web on X platform that the Central Region and the diaspora that were pending have already rounded up. So what are the next steps? What should Cameroonians be expecting after the constitution, after the counting is ended?
Thank you again, Bernard. The National Vote Counting Committee will have to make their reports to the Constitutional Council, right? And by now, the Constitutional Council must have been working on every petition that they have received, even before the report from the National Vote Counting Commission comes in. So now it's just to look at the report from the National Vote Counting Commission, any petitions, and decide if the petitions are receivable or not, and inform the parties on the dates of the hearings. I think that should take less than 5 days. So that's what is expected now. Yeah. For the Constitutional Council to meet in plenary and start discussing the petitions that they have received.
Does that mean ELECAM is already out of the electoral phase?
Well, ELECAM is not out, because even during the petitions, ELECAM will still be caught up, right, to respond on certain questions that may be posed by the Constitutional Council. So for now, within this period, the ELECAM lawyers are also putting together. They must have received the petition that have been sent to the Constitutional Council, and they're also putting up their arguments as well.
Okay, Mimi.
Yes, I was muted. Sorry about that. So I just wanted to come in to ask. We've seen. We know that you have a lot of experience when it comes to elections, and particularly with the case of Cameroon. I wanted to find out why you think that so many staff of elections Cameroon, because since the start of this week, we've been talking about electoral fraud that we witnessed in different regions of Cameroon. Why do you think that some of the staff are involved in election fraud? Is it a political pressure thing, or is it just corruption that is has always been a big problem in Cameroon, or is it out of fear?
Well, the first I would say is fear. And again, most of the ELECAM workers that I know are incredible people. They do a lot of good work. But I would say it's pressure and fear, because sometimes it goes beyond their control, right? It goes beyond their control. Sometimes it involves families. Sometimes it involves threats, and so sometimes it's just things that they themselves cannot actually control. But I think the most important is the pressure that they receive, especially from those in government.
Mm-hmm. And also we saw a lot of, When you say that it's out of fear, do you mean that there's where's the fear coming from? Is it from the government side, or is it from Elections Cameroon side, or what is the end game?
It's mostly from government. You know, Mimi, in the US and most of these developed democracies, you have workers' unions, right? Where a worker can go and complain and be defended. But in our own in Cameroon, you know, if you refuse what probably a minister, a director general, or somebody who has influence is asking you to do something, you can refuse, but to an extent, right? Because they are not protected. They themselves, the staff themselves, they're not protected. So sometimes, when the pressure comes, threats come, sometimes they succumb to that. But for what I know is most of the LECAM workers are retired people. So some of them actually, you know, hold on to the protest, to pressure. They struggle to hold on because they don't have anything to lose. But when they start going, they start threatening you about your children who are in government, your cousin, your brother who is a principal, the other one who works with the taxation, then it becomes a little bit very tricky. So, you know, added to the fact that, you know, they don't have any job protection, like a trade union that can defend them when they're removed from their jobs. So if you have to go and report in the labor department is still the government. So when you put all of those together, you see where some of these threats actually go through.
And when the results will be released, we might be hearing something along the lines of, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes. So we might hear statements along the lines of, yes, there were irregularities, but they were not enough to mar the general conduct of the election, and then they will officially declare who is the winner. But based on your experience, Mr. Henry, how would you assess the credibility of the election that took place in Cameroon on the 12th of October?
Well, you have different ways of assessing it. You can assess it based on what the citizens themselves are saying, the voters themselves. You can assess it from what the embassies in Yaoundé are saying. Right? You can assess it from what the international observers are saying, what the domestic observers are saying, and putting all those together, that determines the credibility of the electoral process itself. But from what we've seen on social media, I think this is a little bit alarming. Alarming in the sense that maybe it's because of social media.
Are you there? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm
Okay.
hearing some noise in the background. That's why I paused a little bit. So again, what I've seen on online, on social media, on Facebook, you know, there's a high level of fraud in some areas, and the numbers at times, especially in the English-speaking regions, where you have people saying that only less than 200 people were there at the polling station, and they told the result comes out to be about 4,000 people. That's very problematic, right? Now, when it comes to the international community, especially with the African Union, they will send 2 people in the Northwest region, and the 2 people going to the Northwest region will end up in Bamenda, and will not go to Jakiri, will not go all those areas where those complaints are coming from. Same thing in Boya, they will end in Boya and probably drive to Kumba, Olimbe, and back to Yaoundé. So some of those things they will only filter them from social media and see what is happening on social media and try to verify the credibility of the sources on social media. That's why sources like you, maybe, are very important. You may not know, but I'll tell you that if you have Commonwealth observers in Cameroon, the EU observers in Cameroon, African Union observers, the areas that they cannot go to, they will count on a report from credible media sources like yourself to know what is actually happening there. And they will put it in their report that we did not go to this area, but from credible sources, this is what happened in these areas. So some of those things, social media has given an opportunity for international observers, even domestic observers who may not reach to those enclave areas, to actually report on things that they have seen on social media from credible sources. So overall, to me, I have not seen all the results. Like we made the statement you used that what may be reported will be that, yes, there were irregularities, there were malpractices, but they were not to the extent that they will impact on the overall results. That's things that we do as election observers, as election practitioners. But again, it's about the numbers. It's about the numbers. For us to do that, we look at the numbers first. If, for instance, you're covering 18 divisions that make up 75% of the voting population, and then you have irregularities in, say, 30% in those areas, then it becomes very problematic. Then that statement will not hold there, right? So you always look at the probabilities of that statement to be true before you use it. So to me, I would say, based on what I've seen, that it would be very unlikely that such a statement will appear in any report.
Okay, toujours basé sur votre expérience avant que Bernard arrive, comment est-ce que vous pourrez comparer le processus électoral tel qu'il se fait au Cameroun et ailleurs?
Well, the process in Cameroon is the same, almost the same like any French African country. Okay, in Togo it's even worse, right? In some other countries it's even worse. But in some other countries like Senegal, it's a little bit transparent. Transparent because the international community is investing a lot of money in civil society in Senegal. They are doing the same in other English African countries like Ghana, Kenya. But hardly would you hear the international community investing in the civil society in Cameroon, except for development projects. So there's a need for the international community to invest in the civil society in Cameroon to be able to monitor. I don't like the word, when it comes to citizen observers, I don't like the word observe, because when you're an election practitioner, when you say observe, it means you just look, you don't intervene. But when you're a citizen of the country, every election observer in Cameroon, who is a Cameroonian, can actually interfere. It means can come to the table and say, this is not right. So you are not an observer, you are a monitor, right? So there's a need for us to really come together and bring the civil society together. But from the process, operationally, you realize that ELECAM is very limited. The only part that ELECAM has a very important role is when the result sheets come back to the ELECAM office, right? And to make sure that the right amount of the right number, the right quantity of voting materials get to the polling station. That's the work of ELECAM. But from all other activities across the electoral cycle is done in commissions, and ELECAM is just a member or leading, right? So it's not like ELECAM has a full responsibility. ELECAM prints the voters list, yes, but the names come from a commission, the voter registration commission. ELECAM prints the voters cards, but the division of the voters cards is done by an electoral commission. So all of those things, ELECAM is a participant in it and plays a very critical role. But in a system where political parties actually doing their work, they have the funding, and that's where the government also comes in. They have the required funding. The system will actually be very, very good. But
alors, vous affirmez clairement que l'ELECAM n'est ni indépendant ni transparent.
Well, ELECAM, you can say ELECAM. No, I'm not saying ELECAM is not independent or not transparent. I'm saying ELECAM doesn't have the resources, it doesn't have the powers, even. In a normal democracy, in a normal functional democracy, where the electoral law has to be applied the way it's supposed to be applied, where political parties have the right funding the way they're supposed to have it, the system will work very well and will work transparent, right? But as we speak, it is so difficult for any political party to be able to send 80% representation in all police stations because they don't have the money. They don't have the money. They don't have the means. So before elections, you are blocked from holding meetings. You are blocked from traveling. So you don't have the means to even raise funds to be able to finance your own campaigns. You don't have the money to pay polling agents. But the ruling party has it. It has everything, right?
Yes. So, Mr. Henry, I just want to come. Sorry for interrupting briefly, but we have Franklin Sonne Bayen, who's been covering these elections from the very first day. He has visited several regions in Cameroon. On election day itself, he was in the far north and also in the north. He has been to Yaoundé, where the vote counting commission has been meeting. Hello, Mr. Franklin. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. You're muted, actually. You are muted. Yes, you are unmuted now. Yes.
Yeah, so I was saying it's always a pleasure. I wish I had the time to be here all the time. I have a lot of respect for your show. So I love to be here.
We love to have you as well. But I just wanted you to respond because we could hear Mr. Henry saying that elections, Cameroon is not having enough resources sometimes, which could downplay the organ's credibility and so on. I was just wondering whether you could come in to tell us if elections is not having the needed budget, who does? Because this is an institution that is funded by the government itself.
Well, I do not think it is, when we're talking about elections, are we talking about elecam? I haven't heard that there is any concern about the resources at the disposition of elecam. It is perhaps the candidates or the political parties that are underfunded. If you can imagine that a candidate pays 30 million to qualify as a candidate and receives 30 million, and by this 30 million we have 15 million to run the campaigns. I don't know what the rest of the 15 million is meant for. Maybe to drink, to wine and dine with friends, because you need this money for the campaign, not after the campaign, and only half of it is given during the campaign. So you pay 30 million and get 15 million to run your campaign. I think that is where the challenge is. I do not think it is the level of Elecam. Elecam is funded by the government. I'm sure they have all it takes. They have all it takes for them to be able to be at every nook and cranny of the country at election time. It suggests that they have the means to be there. And you know, of course, that I don't think I'm teaching anyone anything, that Elecam is really not the organizer of the election. They are just a secretariat of the election. They handle the paperwork and hand it over to more competent institutions like the Constitutional Council and its the Vote Counting Commission. Elecam is only excuse me, it's only a secretary.
Yeah.
Are you okay, Franklin?
Sorry, Franklin. Sorry. Are you all right? Because you're muted now.
I'm
You might maybe have to like drink a glass of
Maybe
water. That
have a
might help.
I'm
glass
all
of-
right. I'm all right. We
Okay.
can carry on.
Okay.
Okay.
I just choked.
Sorry
I
about
just
that.
choked. So yeah, I was saying I don't think this election, the issues with our elections in this country have to do with the means, material means. I think it has to do more with the will to do the right thing. It's not a question of the means. The means is there, I think. Can you mute me again?
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Okay, we are going to mute Mr. Franklin. We have to mute. If our technicians can hear us, okay, we can mute Mr. Okay, let's go back to our guest, Bernard or Sandrine. Maybe we have another question for our guests before we come back to Franklin.
Okay, Bernard, do you have any question for Henry before we move on? Or
Yes, I do have a question for Henry.
okay.
Yeah. So you said the most important role that Elecam plays in an election is the 48 hours after the polling, after polling has closed. Can you describe the role Elecam plays at that time, the 48 hours, and the risk that are involved, or how that could present a risk to the what left the polling station?
Yes, Bernard. But before that, let me say I've received a lot of Elecam delegations, right, here in the US. Actually invited them for different events. one, when I was talking about funding, well, not necessarily for ELECAM. The one thing that ELECAM faces is the delay of funding from the government to ELECAM. And in elections, timing is very essential. When I'm supposed to I prepare my election calendar, you don't give me the money at the time that I need it. You are interfering in the process. You're interfering in the timing of my activities. Another thing that ELECAM is facing is the update of election technology. The lifespan of any election technology is 10 years. And we started voter BVR when 2012, 2011, late 2011, 2012 is almost 14 to 15 years. And so some of the equipment that I see using now to vote, to register people, and even used to produce cards is obsolete. You know, in one of their missions, they came here to find a way to assist them, for me to assist them for free. You know, that's to tell you that even though if you are not inside, you will not know that they are also facing financial difficulties, right? Now, coming to your question about it 48 hours. Why is that 48 hours is very essential? Because so many things happen. Again, when you hear that result sheets have been changed, they don't change result sheets in the divisional commission. They change result sheets from the polling station and within that 48 hours from the polling station. That's when everything happens. And I'll give you an example. Say Issa Tchiroma is leading in Kuseri by 4,000 votes. Two things can happen. One, because it's a one constituency election, it's a presidential elections, they can reduce the margin for Issa Tchiroma. Instead of 4,000 votes, they bring it to 250. Issa Tchiroma still wins. And those who are in Kuseri will see Issa Tchiroma won, right? But the other party will be trying to catch up the 250 votes from somewhere. And Issa Tchiroma will not be there to fight that vote. And those votes will come from the suburbs, from those enclave areas. So where Issa Tchiroma wins, I want to see what is the margin, right? What is the margin, especially in the urban areas? So ELECAM is critical at that point to ensure that what comes out of the polling station is what they transmit to the divisional commission. And so many things happen. It's either it can happen with the chairperson of the polling station before he gets to ELECAM. It can happen within ELECAM offices where you have ELECAM staff that are compromised. They can do that before it gets to the divisional commission. No vote, no tally sheet changes happens in the divisional commission. Rarely would you have that. So that is where the thing happens. And remember that if you have 120 polling stations, if you have to go, corrupt people, you have 120 places to go. But when you come to the ELECAM office, you have just one place that you have to do everything. It means you are dealing with fewer people to be able to change things around. So, but if you have a credible ELECAM staff, then you have what comes out of the polling station goes to the divisional commission. But where you have those issues of corruption, many things can happen. So that's where it's very critical.
So if I'm hearing you well, the party representatives at the polling station may not have a significant role to play because the 48 hours after the elections can change the election results?
There is a possibility. There's a possibility. And that possibility occurs when you have a situation where you don't have the party represented. I remember I told you about active and inactive representation. An active, like an Issa Tchiroma representative will be an active representative because there's a likelihood that Issa Tchiroma will win. So he'll be more engaged in that process than an inactive person. So you find that division where there's an active representation, that will rarely happen. But where you have an inactive, a candidate that knows that they will not win, so they're just there to represent, there's no engagement. Those are the areas where those things happen, right? Mm-hmm. Because they may discuss with the guy at the national level, and most of those result sheets will just pass. And that is the incentive.
Yes, I wanted to come in quickly, Mr. Henry, to ask. There are three things that I'm noticing from our conversation. We've talked about finance, which is limited. We've talked about equipment, which are not up to date. And we've also talked about fraud, the fact that some ELECAM officials are not to be trusted. You cannot trust them. The question I wanted to ask you is is ELECAM fit to organize a free and fair election in Cameroon? Should we trust the results that that will come from the Constitutional Council, because these results will be coming from Elections Cameroon? Do we trust those results?
Well, the law says you should trust the results, right?
I mean,
If
from
you-
an
if you-
expert like you,
if you ask
because
me,
you're a reputable expert in elections, you understand the mechanisms, the elections governing body, how it functions, and so on and so forth. Because we are talking about the credibility of the election. And for the first time in the history of our country, Cameroon, people are looking at that. They are questioning fraud. They are questioning credibility. They are also questioning the ELECAM itself as an institution. Should Cameroonians, from an expert like you, should they trust the result of this year's election, looking at all of the issues that you've enumerated?
under normal circumstances, every Cameroonian, every voter should trust the result. Under normal circumstances, we are not there yet. You know, what we've seen is not something that you can stay at your home and say, no, what the results have been transmitted are verifiable, they are okay, they're accurate. Under the circumstances that we are now, I don't think every Cameroonian has some form of doubt, including myself, right? And that is why at some point ELECAM has to defend itself. And I did mention to Ben yesterday that after this election, a lot of heads will go within ELECAM. In fact, I can proudly say that I have that information. Some heads will go down. But at this time, when the Constitutional Council already have results, what should Cameroonians do? This is what Issa Tchiroma is already doing, putting the results out there for people to see. Now, you put the results out there, what are the areas that do not have the results? And that goes back to what Issa Tchiroma had said years ago, that you cannot contest a result that you don't have, right? The results are doubtful, given all what we've seen on social media, given what people like Franklin have reported. We have a lot of doubt that what will be announced by the Constitutional Council, even if it's announced that Tchiroma has won at the level of the Constitutional Council, it doesn't cancel the fraud that's been reported. It doesn't cancel that. So people should have trust in what, in their votes, that they will be actually be counted. But from what we've seen, I don't think Cameroonians would accept it, except they may be okay if Issa Tchiroma wins. But I don't think nobody, I don't think any reasonable Cameroonian to say that with what has happened, what we've seen on social media, we should trust the results.
So Franklin, welcome back. What has been your observation on the field since you've covered the elections in different regions? What have you been seeing so far?
First thing I want to say hello to Henry is now I recognize you, Henry. when we talked about the election expert, I was wondering where I know the face. Thank you, Mimi, for putting me on the same platform with my friend. Oh, I wanted to say two things first of all about what Henry said.
It's actually Bernard, not me.
You were coughing, you couldn't see.
Henry said two things. Henry said two things. The first thing he said is, I take particularly the cases of Bafoussam for Mifi, Chang for the Menwa, and Limbe for Fako, when people jubilated that they tried to steal, but finally, out of the people power, Tchiroma has won. They ignored, they overlooked something. What is the number? Now, if you give Tchiroma, let's just take, for example, I know that in Limbe, the official figure that left the divisional commission was 50 point something percent for Tchiroma and 37 point something percent for incumbent Paul Biya. The SDF that we are in, Limbe will not be a problem to the SDF. Alex Ngepi of SDF, who used to be with MRC, says by their sheets they have, the return sheets they have, Tchiroma has in Fako division and Paul Biya 15%. Now you see Tchiroma, by the official figure, Tchiroma lost something like 12 to 17%. and Paul Biya gained something like 20% or 22% in Fako division alone. And people are jubilating that Tchiroma won. It is not a parliamentary election. It's a one constituency election. And those additions are adding up to a candidate who may have big wins elsewhere, be they real or fabricated. That's number one. Number two, the law says, and this is something that Henry said, the law says that in case of a discrepancy, the copy of the result sheets that election has is the authentic one. Now, if you tell me, Henry said it, you can fight the fight at the level of the polling station. You can even fight it anywhere else. At the vote counting commission, one group of people are reading the results. They are people of Eleka. When they read those results, representatives of candidates, this is what I observe. They just do not even contest. They spend their time laughing and cracking jokes. You have discrepancy in figures. You can have the figure of votant. I'm using that word. Some figure, but when they sum up the votes won by each candidate, it doesn't add up. And then the president will say, "Bon, il faut qu'on soit on réduit, soit." It's just a joke. And one candidate representative will say, "Non, il faut donner ça à Paul Biya. C'est pas la peine même de chercher à no, there's no point trying to fix it. Just give it to Biya, let it add up there." During the recess, I spoke to a number of them, including Tchiroma's representative. Why are you not contesting these things? He said, "Rien ne changera ici. Nothing will come out of here. Whatever we do here, the vote counting commission can only take note of, or can only take observations and forward to the Constitutional Council. It cannot correct the figures. It can do nothing. And by the way, Elekam's figures are authentic." So in other words, they sit there, Elekam gives a figure. If they want to argue, they waste their time arguing because it will go nowhere. There will be an observation that this candidate's representative objected to this and this and this. And on that day, it would be, of course, in the complaints that candidates would submit, and it would be irretrievable. So you see, it's a waste of time. I'm sorry to say that I sat in that room, and sometimes I wanted to speak. But you know that I have no reason to speak there. And you know, of course, I will be in jail now if I dare to speak. Because I saw figures that came from the field. And
Franklin. Yes, that's something that is quite worrying. I just wanted to go back to Mr. Henry before Bernard and Sandrine come in. We had observers, including the African Union Observation Mission, covering this election. But their report was kind of positive. They said all was well and that everything went fine. But looking at some of these issues that we are already raising, like credibility, fraud, and incompetence, there are a lot of things that are going wrong with this election. Should we even in future trust the any international observation mission?
That's a good question, Mimi. First, there are three kinds of reports that the African Union gives. The first report is when they arrive and they meet with all the actors and they give a first report. The second report is on election night or the day after the elections. They give a report on the conduct of the election on election day itself, just the election day. And then they have a final report that they give. That takes a few months after. And that the final report is what they send. In the case of the African Union, they send to all the member states, at the embassies of all the member states who are in Addis. So the final report will carry most of the irregularities, what they have seen as malpractice. The final report will capture all of that. And usually that final report is not very publicized as the way they have this preliminary report is publicized, because they do that in the capital. But the final report will carry most of the irregularities that they have observed, the ones that they have seen on social media. They will list them and they will make recommendations. That's what they send to all the countries in the African Union. The same thing with the Commonwealth and the same thing with the EU. those that do not usually send reports to countries are like the Carter Center, NDI. They will send reports to the State Department or the Congress, but they don't send reports to other countries. So the report, sometimes the first report that you see, especially the one after election day, is usually sketchy, one-page report. This is how the conduct went. No major issues happened. We hear isolated cases of violence. So those are the terms that they'll use in that report immediately after the election. So you may not, what you may be looking for, you will not see it in the first report. But most of the things that you mentioned about fraud, malpractice, or violence will be featured in the final report that they'll be sending out.
Bernard or Sandrine?
Yeah, let me come in. Let me start with Franklin, then I'll go to Henry in a moment. Franklin, from what you've explained, did you speak with Issa Tchiroma Bakary's representative at the Vote Counting Commission for him to detail why he abandoned the commission a few hours into the working session?
I missed the first part. What are you asking? What do I think about his representative leaving?
Yeah, why did he leave the commission a few hours into the start of the working session?
Well, he left on the second day. He sat through the first day. It's true that for most of the time on the first day, I only came there in the evening because I had just flown in from Garoua the previous night and I was tired. So when I got there, I didn't see him in the room, but I saw him walking at some point. And I was asking, at that time, I thought that there was real business, like people saying, oh, this is what I have, these are the figures I have, not those figures. But I got to notice that was not even the business of the commission. So they're just sitting there. So during the recess, I spoke with him and I asked him, why don't you raise objections? Are these figures we are seeing here the figures you have? And he said, nothing can come out of here. This was day one. On day two, I was going to travel to see family and I had to get ready. So I only got there in the afternoon. And when I got there, but on my way there, I saw reports that he had walked out. And I've read things from Bruno Bijang dramatizing how he was leaving and people were mocking. Nothing of the sort happened. He did not announce he was leaving. He just left around 10 o'clock yesterday and did not return. But he had told a number of other representatives of candidates that he didn't think it was worth staying there. But one thing he told me when I asked him why he was not contesting and what would come out of it, he told me it's as simple as he will not sign the report. So I think he consulted with hierarchy or something, and they told him, "Don't even wait for that," and he left. So I think it's a moral act to show that they disapprove of it, and you can see that things took another turn after he walked out. We heard a number of things happened. Issa Tchiroma put out a statement telling the public that certain members of government have reached out to him to tell him they support him. Some military officers.
Let's talk about that in a moment. Let's go back to the commission. Did you talk to any other commission members to understand if they had a conversation with Mr. Issa from FSNC? And
oh yes,
what was their own impression about what was going on there?
I spoke with the representative of Cabral Libi, of Akeremuna Univer, and he had about the same feeling that the whole process was a waste of time. And he told me he had had a conversation with Issa Tchiroma's representative, and he was not surprised that he left because he got to understand his mindset about the process. So yes, I spoke with the representative of the SDF. He didn't give quite. He was rushing somewhere, so I didn't get a lot of what I needed from him. But he too, at least, was telling me that the process is drama because it doesn't reflect the reality. Remember, as I said earlier, It is Alex Gepi, not the representative of Joshua OC in this case, but it's at least someone of SDF who brought out the truth, which we believe, of the figures from FACO, which gave Issa Tchiroma even more votes than the commission finally homologated, where people were jubilating that Tchiroma won. He said it's 60-something%, not 50%.
Yeah,
So yes, I think.
Listening
Yes,
to the
please.
two of you, one is someone who had been in there organizing the elections and now has a more international view of what is happening, and then you who is there on the ground. I think myself and the viewers, from what I'm reading in the comments, are beginning to have the impression that this is more of a formality and that nothing actually can come out of it. Is that the same sentiment you both of you share? Let's hear from Henry, then we'll hear from you, Franklin.
I mean, like I told you, Bernard, everything happens on the ground. Everything happens on the ground. From the polling station, when it's closed and everybody goes home, that 48 hours, anything can happen. And the psychology of voters is that Issa Tchiroma has won somewhere, and they don't care. They just know that Issa Tchiroma has won. And you heard what Franklin did say, and that those margins are very important. To remove somebody from 12% to 25%, you may see that maybe it's just a small 10-12%, but when you put the numbers, it becomes great when you start adding Komba Bedimo, you start adding Bakassi, you start adding what will happen in all those areas, and then you see that 19% that Issa Tchiroma had in Fako was cancelled long ago, because it's just a presidential election. So those margins are very important. So if you have the tally sheet, you have to make sure that you pay attention to the margins that Issa Tchiroma. I've seen the Vina and Wuri that Tchiroma has published. I'm looking at, first of all, I was thinking that the margins should be big in terms of participation first. In both Vina and Wuri, they're less than 50% participation, right? To me, it's a problem. Yes, people came out, but it's a problem. Secondly, you look at what is the percentage margin for both, because they vote 400 and something thousand in Wuri. If you have 60%, you're having about 300,000 votes that Issa Tchiroma amassed in Wuri. I think Vina is about 50,000 votes. Now, but if you go to some areas like Nkam, right? Nkam, where you may have just 200,000 votes, you see that if Bia picks votes from there, whether legit or illegal, if he picks votes from there, it brings the Tchiroma margin in Wuri and Vina down a little bit. And if you put the other side, that's why one was about getting out the votes. And two, when you get out the vote, make sure your margin of victory is high in those urban areas. But I'm not surprised, knowing the history of when I was there. I'm not surprised to see those margins, being trimmed, to the extent that, even the Issa Tchiroma people at the National Commission were moving out because it's just a formality. There is just a formality, just counting numbers. You can't do anything, you can't change anything. Where the battle is at the polling station and for the 8 hours that Beckham has.
All right, thank you so much. Let's hear from Franklin briefly, then we'll bring in Mr. Paul Elongene, who's been waiting for some time.
What's the question again, please?
Is your impression that nothing is going to come out of the current count for the rest of the process, because Cameroonians are already showing signs that they do not trust that anything reasonable is going to come out of the process?
No, certainly. If it's about let's just say that the vote counting commission submits its report to the Constitutional Council, and next week there is a session, and the council rules based on what the vote counting commission submits, then forget about it. It's lasts for the candidate who hopes to win. But if there is any way to bring good sense to bear on those who are handling this process, then the corrections can be made. I do not know how, but if it is going to be based on what we are seeing right now in the commission, no, there is nothing to come out of it that look like the truth based on what we have seen already. Now, I just wanted to comment on something. I think Henry said it, but I've seen in a newspaper headline today that says that's crediting a candidate for rural penetration. You know, this is something we were told 35 years ago in the early 90s, that don't mind Frundi doing that part to the people. He's winning in the urban centers because the people there are enlightened and he goes there easily. But in the rural areas where the people do not see him and they do not understand the politics, they easily vote for the incumbent. Look, first of all, we know that social media is a vehicle, and you know that the penetration of mobile phones, of smartphones, of internet around the country in the hinterlands is also the penetration of political and socio-political messages. So that kind of mindset is a cake to think that, look, let me tell you, I traveled with candidate Tchiroma to Lagdo and Pitwa, and I can tell you that it wasn't easy reaching Lagdo and Pitwa because everywhere along the way, once the people heard that it was coming, they just blocked the road because they wanted to have a feel of him. It is not because they live in the city. It is because mobile phones and social media took the message to them that this is the man. So those fooling themselves that Tchiroma's popularity ended in the cities are a cake, are out of touch with reality, and they don't know what they are talking about. I would even say
They are
that in
even
the
sorry
rural
for
area,
interrupting, Franklin. There are even government ministers in Yaoundé claiming that his popularity is on social media. Just
no, they
to
don't
add,
know what.
yes, just to
No,
add to what you're saying.
they don't know what they are talking about. To get to Lakdo and to get to Pitwa, it wasn't easy because everywhere, about every village, people were coming out in droves just to be a part of the Tchiroma story. So it is bullshit to talk about it ends in the city. What is in the rural areas that would make, and I'm not here speaking like I'm doing advocacy, I am reporting because I saw reality. What in the
Franklin,
rural areas would make them love someone the people in the city do not love? Can someone tell me?
Yeah, Franklin, let's talk about what you saw, the crowds, and how they represented themselves in the vote in the moment. Let me hand over to Mimi to welcome Mr. Elongene.
Yes, we have Mr. Nko Elonge who has been waiting. He's been so patient, and I guess he's still there. I hope he's not given up on us. Hello, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Mr. Nko Elonge is actually an influencer, Cameroonian influencer. He is also a medical doctor. Please correct me if I'm right.
Academic.
Yes, no, academic doctor, and also you have a lot of knowledge on election issues and so on. But you've stood out so prominently during this electoral period, speaking up against some of the things that you have been seeing going wrong, some of the things that are not happening. I hope Mr. Henry is still there because I have one final question for him. Please, he shouldn't go. Yes. So yes, you've stood out so prominently with other influencers, some the celebrities as well, people who are having really huge following on the social media space, but you've prominently and consistently spoken up against what you've been describing as injustice. You've decried the violations that we've seen throughout the electoral process. I just wanted to begin by asking you, why do you think it's important for people like you to be more vocal now than ever before?
Thank you, Mimi, for having me, and thank you, Bernard, Sanjin. I see you too. Thank you all. Yes. The question is why not? Because I think it was somebody who said that um, people who citizens who bad leaders are voted by citizens who refuse to vote. Um, we need to be part of that process. I thought it was very important because we're just tired. We are tired of 43 years of this system. All the indicators of development are red when it comes to Cameroon and the BR regime. And so to me particularly, I felt that it was important for us to raise our voices because there's been a lot of cynicism, especially when it comes to the credibility of the elections and whether it's important for people to vote. And I realized that one of the strongest tools in the CPDM and the BR toolbox was voter apathy among young people. And so to me it was important that we create that consciousness, we do a lot of awareness and create a bit more enthusiasm around younger voters to get to the polling station and make their voices heard. So to me, that was why it was really important. And I have a background in elections management. I worked with Elecam for 11 years, first as a support staff and then as bureau head for communications with Meme. So I saw firsthand a lot of the things which which were being done. I also understood that the louder and stronger we come out, we are able to sidestep a lot of the malpractices.
Mm. Yes, Sandrine, you want to come in and then Bernard?
Okay, no, I will go first. Okay, Elongeko, je sais que vous avez été, que vous êtes l'un des influenceurs assez écoutés. Vous venez de dire que vous avez travaillé avec Election Cameroun pendant une décennie, ça veut dire un peu plus de 10 ans. Qu'est-ce que vous pensez des accusations qui sont faites aujourd'hui à Elecam? Est-ce que vous direz que c'est pas nouveau ou est-ce que vous direz c'est normal?
Oh, these are not new. They are actually quite predictable. Like Henry spoke so eloquently about how malpractices take place. I do not think that generally Elecam staff are corrupt. They are not inherently corrupt, but as well as they are, it's like saying, those who go to church are inherently, or serve in church are inherently holy. No, you would always find bad seeds, right? So you have that in Lekam, and you have some of the pressures that Henry has elaborated. So pressures from authorities, pressures from the administration especially, but also I want to add pressures from the elite. Because I remember when I was, what happens is Elecam staffs generally serve in the areas of their origin. So, for example, I served in Kumba and I'm Bafo. And with that comes particular perceptions about your loyalties. So they say, okay, the Bafo tribe, for example, is supposed to be leaning towards this area. And so it is your role as an Elecam staff to try to facilitate that from happening. So I know how many times I faced pressure from the elite there who thought that the people of Kumba should be voting overwhelmingly for the CPDM. Even if they did not, we had to make sure that it reflected that.
Okay, does it mean, okay, est-ce que cela veut dire, je pense qu'on a écouté des ministres et autres autour du processus électoral dire que tous les candidats n'avaient pas le représentant dans les 31 000 bureaux de vote. Lorsqu'il n'y a pas le représentant d'un candidat ou d'un parti politique, quel est le rôle de l'ECAM?
Yeah, Elecam has a supervisory role, but Elecam also has an appointed chairperson who manages the polling activities at the polling station. This person does not just have the responsibility of managing, but making sure that these elections are credible. You have the chairperson, you have a representative of the administration who is also supposed to be neutral in that process. And then you have representatives of all the political parties there. To me, it is quite baffling how the fundamental rule is fair play. A party does not have to be fully represented for elections to be credible. That is an additional safeguard for elections. But elections are supposed to be free, fair, transparent, representative of the voices of the voters. How can anyone think that is logical to say that because a political party was not represented, then elections have to be mad?
Or maybe they can find someone to represent the party that are not there.
Now, there is a decision that is signed forming the commission that is in charge of polling day activities. People cannot willy-nilly become part of that commission.
Interesting, Bernard.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kwoy Longe. You are one of those who used their platforms as someone who communicates with the younger generation to entice them to register and vote. From what you are saying, we just heard from Henry and Franklin that the process is not transparent and the results that will be declared officially may not be what was at the ballot boxes. What are you hearing from the young people on your platforms and all those who come close to you?
Yeah, I mean, you can get a pulse of where the country is from just making a social media post. Maybe you would understand this. You would get a full pulse of where, and this is, I mean, I remember the statement about, this is a social media victory, this is this and that and that, and that there is more popularity in the rural areas. And the argument is that those in the urban areas are much more educated and so can make better voting choices. What does it really say about a political party who depends on ignorance of the voters to get votes? I mean, they cannot win the argument either ways. But to your question about the polls, yes, you see the enthusiasm and you see that there is overwhelming momentum around the opposition party, Issa Tchiroma. But also you can see the cynicism. For the longest time, young voters have not felt that their voices will count, that they actually count in this election. And right now, seeing the updates on the results that are coming, you can actually get the sense of anger and cynicism. Where even when I remember making a post this morning just saying, see, we have to focus now on the municipal and parliamentary elections, because even if these elections were to go to Issa Tchiroma, the CPDM will still control the Senate and the National Assembly, and we have to then read them off through the municipal and parliamentary elections. You could see people coming there, young people saying, so this did not really work, our votes did not really count. They are so frustrated. It is a shame, and I repeat, it's a shame on the elite who have betrayed, who have sold out their own people to line their stomach. It is a shame, for shame. They should be seriously embarrassed. I mean, for crying out loud, look at the results from the Northwest and Southwest. Are we really saying that the CPDM party and the Paul Biya administration that has over the years contributed to the complete erosion of the livelihood of these people in the Northwest and Southwest, that they somehow find their highest level of popularity in the rural areas of Northwest and Southwest? Give me a break.
They were saying that when the elephants are fighting, the grass suffers. And that only means that in the next 7 years, if Issa Tchiroma Bakary, we are hoping, is declared winner of the election, the next 7 years, it will be on record that the CPDM won in the Anglophone regions. But we know what has been happening there. I just wanted to come in here and ask you, Elonge, you've talked about, the rigging, the fact that it's a shame and a lot of things that are not actually going right. But if you were to address the opposition party leaders, because you've worked with Elections Cameroon for a while, if you were to address the opposition party leaders and advise them on where to pin Elections Cameroon down and the Constitutional Council, what would be your advice?
I think this all stems from the polling stations. That's where the rigging takes place. And so the first thing for the for the opposition parties is to have credible representation at the polling stations. When I say credible representation, because I have also seen representation that is compromised. Maybe it is someone who has never really militated strongly for the party being sent as a representative to the polling station. I think that's the first thing, because that's what really we've seen people who've gone to represent their political parties getting compromised at the polling station. In my experience, the administration has always worked. The representative of the administration has always worked with the ruling party. So there is really no difference between those two. That's a
Yes, no, the point is we've gone past that stage,
yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
we are no more where, because we saw very engaged young people were not even polling representatives standing up and
Yeah.
saying that they wanted to defend their votes. We saw it in different polling stations. But I'm talking about going from now to when the results are proclaimed or even after. Where do you think the opposition party can, and even Cameroonians, can hold elections Cameroon to account? How can that be done, and in what aspect?
Now, the thing is, I think Henry and Sone, sorry, I think that's the name I can remember. Sone Bayen made the point about how the statutory provisions makes it such a way that it is really difficult for people to do anything once the results have been sent to the Constitutional Council. The only thing you see is people standing up and saying my voice has been undermined. It's a very difficult. I don't know what can be done, quite frankly, and it's a shame. I don't know, but for speaking up, but for calling our elites in their face and telling them we know what they've done, but for rallying and making sure that this does not happen again, mobilizing, making sure that in the next elections, the municipal and parliamentary, we put in a stronger participation rate. We are there at the polling stations, especially in the rural areas, because we know that that's the basket where all the rigging is taking place. The rural areas, they know that this is where the rural areas are faced by two things: inaccess. That's the first. Inaccess. So even international observers, national observers cannot get to those areas, and so sometimes it is difficult to have representatives there or this type of oversight. So first we have to make sure that these parties are represented there, that we in the civil society and as participants in the elections are there to monitor and protect our votes.
Yes.
Mais est-ce que ce n'est pas... Non, juste renchérir là-dessus avant Bernard. Elongeko, vous venez juste de dire que vous demandez même déjà aux gens de penser déjà à la prochaine ou bien aux prochaines élections. Mais dans le climat actuel, vous avez dit aussi que les jeunes semblent assez frustrés. Comment pensez-vous aujourd'hui qu'avec toutes les réclamations qu'il y a eu, les déclarations de certains candidats, et surtout celui de Issa Tchiroma Bakary, ceux qui refutent les résultats qui pourraient être proclamés par le Conseil constitutionnel. Comment pensez-vous que les jeunes devraient se sentir enthousiastes d'aller une fois de plus voter dans quelques mois s'ils se disent que ça va être le même résultat?
It's a tough position to be in, quite frankly, Sandrine. It's a tough position to be in when you feel like your voice has completely been silenced. But what I want to assure young people is that, first of all, your voice, it's clear. Everybody knows that this is what we voted for and that we did not vote for this. The rigging, the dishonesty, the malpractices, they are evident. They are all over social media. I saw a lot of young people use their tools, devices, Facebook, their telephones to out the malpractices. What I'm saying is that we know better. We know the playbook better. We cannot just sit and cry foul, foul, foul. We also have to play hard on the game. So we have a chance to right a lot of the things in the next elections, the municipal and parliamentary elections, even if these were somehow were declared in the favor of Issa Tchiroma. The CPDM party will still have to control of the Senate and the National Assembly. And so young people have to go out, rally, and vote. We cannot depend on only our cynicism that this system is completely bleak. We have to put the necessary pressure, because it will not come from us just complaining and saying, oh, we are not partaking again because this happened.
Bernard, you have any question?
Yeah, my question was, Sandrine already asked my question, but I'm just trying to understand from Dr. Elogwe how somebody or the youths who have put in all the dedication they had in the system are going to trust the same electoral code, the same electoral institutions at the various levels to make a different decision at this point. Is that something that can happen?
No, I don't think that the question is about just trust. I think the question is about how do we outplay them in the game that they are doing, not in terms of rigging, but how do we secure our votes? How do we make sure that in the rural areas where we now know that this is where they are doing this, how do we make sure that we are there to monitor and secure our votes? We have to think strategically. So it is quite discouraging to see that voice silent, but it's also a fire that burns in you to want to make sure that it doesn't happen again. So to me, I am encouraging everybody that we cannot slow down now, because that is exactly the point in all of this, that we should give up hope and we should become cynical and say this doesn't work. That is what they've used forever, and for the longest time apathy has been their strongest weapon. Trust me, this has been the most shocking elections in Cameroon, because they did not expect this kind of youth enthusiasm. And so we have to keep this fire burning. We have to make sure that we are strategic. We make sure that I have said that I have dedicated myself to Kumba, Meme, 1, 2, 3, Konye and Bonge, to make sure that in the next municipal and parliamentary elections, we know the terrain and we are making sure that we will be heavily represented there. The youth voices will be heard. They will not be able to steal a vote.
So let me get one last question there. So Tchiroma already said his vote is not going to go wasted, and he's going to stand up to defend that vote. He hasn't said how he's going to defend the vote actually, so we are still waiting. So if Tchiroma, are you hearing from the youths that they are going to follow the lead that Tchiroma is going to give, or are you hearing that they are just going to wait until the next election cycle as you are proposing?
Yeah, I'm not just proposing the next election cycle. I think that the youths are already making their voice heard. Me being here is part of making my voice heard. It's part of the defiance that we are talking about. So we are using every platform, and I want to tell you something. This is not about Tchiroma. This is about my voice and the hundreds of thousands of young voices. We formed a coalition around Tchiroma. Tchiroma did not call on us. And so we are not waiting for a decision from him. He is not leading the voices. We are leading this movement, because the movement that has to take this regime to account on all their failures. So it is immaterial whether Tchiroma is saying, "Oh, I'm trained the towel." No, it is about our voices. It's about our voices. I endorse Tchiroma with a pinch of salt. So this is bigger than him. It is bigger than him.
I'm glad to hear you say that it's actually bigger than Issa Tchiroma Bakary, because that's the opinion that everyone has. Also, just to add that you're also known, you're a very, very prominent comedian in Cameroon known as Mama Felicia. So
Auntie Feli.
Auntie Felicia. You must have seen Auntie Felicia now from a DUC. Cameroonians can wear a lot of hats. And to hear the passion, the fact that you didn't stay silent when it mattered, that's something that I respect so much in you, Elonge. And you can see our faces sometimes can be sad when we are talking about Cameroon, because it's quite a sad situation. Maybe you can just make us smile for a few seconds before you go. Before you go, we never know. You could make us just smile.
I don't know. It's been very difficult. It's been very difficult smiling these days. And I want to make you people smile. But then I make una vex in the first place.
You already did that. I'm sure everyone is laughing in the comment section. Thank you
you
so
should have
much.
come in Kaba and week.
No, see, I am telling you, you should be thanking your good grace that it is not Auntie Fele who is here. Because if I would for this place today.
If I talk to say move rapper. Okay. Thank you so much, and
Thank
God
you for
bless you.
having me.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, guys.
I,
Thank you. And great job,
yeah,
fantastic job. Thank you.
thank
And
you.
Henry, we'll get to connect to.
Merci beaucoup, Elongepo, aka Auntie Feli.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming.
Bye.
Yes, I had this. I don't know if it's the last question, but an important question for Henry Oben. There are reports indicating that the Developmental Commission refused to include Bakary in the submission after Elecam officials admitted to taking 30 million francs CFA. It's something that just went viral, and a lot of people were commenting about it and against it. Yet the National Vote Counting Commission is reportedly considering this partial vote in this area. How do you assess the credibility? I know we've talked about credibility, fairness, and even the competence of Elections Cameroon, but how do you, in this specific case, how do you assess the credibility of including such a result in the national tally?
Yeah, I think it's very, very, very problematic to include that. But again, it will also depend on the extent to which that occurred. So, if the result sheets were tempered, which of the result sheets were tempered, what percentage of those results, how many polling stations were affected, in a total of how many in the first place. So, all of those will be taken into account. If it's much to the extent that it affects over 50%, then the entire council area may be cancelled. Usually, knowing how those things function, it would depend on where the votes are, who obtains the majority of the votes. And so, if it's the CPDM that obtained the majority of the votes, especially for polling stations that were not tampered with, right? The commissions may turn a blind eye, right, and try to say that, okay, what the guy did probably did not affect the outcome in that council area. For those who want to support such action, those are the arguments that they can put forward. But again, if you have someone who is there and knows exactly the amount of votes that were added by the council branch head, as far as Elecam is concerned, that is a different investigation within Elecam for the council branch head. But for the results, what I know that the divisional commission would do, they'll make a recommendation. They'll take a decision and make a note on their report to the final vote counting commission. The final vote counting commission will also decide if that should be added or not, and send the recommendation, their decision to the Constitutional Council. The Constitutional Council definitely have a last say on such case. But from the Divisional Commission, they'll take their own decision and make a recommendation on what they think that should be done, and write a report on that on the case. The National Vote Counting Commission will do the same. They may decide to fall in line with the Divisional Commission and say we want to add it, or we want to reject it, and also say this is why we have made this decision to reject it or to add it. The Constitutional Council may say no, we have to remove it because from this report, this is what we think is right. It's right.
Okay. Is there any chance also that it can be annulled in the Anglophone regions where we have people saying that they didn't go out to vote, but they are surprised to see thousands of people voting for the CPDM party? I mean, we heard from Elonge. We've also seen a local authority saying that only 100 people were expected to vote in a particular locality. That was in Do, I guess. But we ended up seeing 15,000 voting for President Paul Biya. Is that something that can be known?
That's a little bit tricky, because somebody has to put up a petition and the time for petition is over, right? If there's a petition and probably a political party that was represented in the polling station puts up a petition to that effect, they want to see evidence Elecam's lawyers would defend it. The political party will also defend their petition. At that level, it's about evidence. It's about evidence. And they may call also the register. Again, I had a discussion with Bennett where I said, sometimes they put those numbers and forget to mark the corresponding additions on the register. So sometimes we've had situations where we call for the register, the voter register, to add the thumbprints, right? And sometimes they do that, they forget the thumbprint, to thumbprint all those corresponding number of voters on the register. Sometimes they may call it, but the time frame that they'll use from the time that action was taken, they must have already put all the thumbprints on the register before. So at the stage of the Constitutional Council, it's about verifiable evidence. So if you don't have the evidence, it's very difficult for the Constitutional Council to decide on such a case.
Okay.
I have one last question for Henry before he goes, and that is, from your experience observing elections internationally, what spikes most post-election conflict, and are those ingredients present in Cameroon now?
Obviously, they are very, very present. In Kenya, we saw it in Kenya, we saw it in Ivory Coast, we've seen it in several places. The ingredients are very much present in Cameroon. And what may spark the ingredients more, spark the post-election conflict is usually the attitude of the opposition and the government in power. What Issa Tchiroma will say would definitely be very, very strong on, making people to go on the streets. What the government will say, that's why you see for the last few days, you're not seeing Atangaji coming up, right? So I'm sure within the government itself, they must have told him, just sit quiet, just allow things to take their course. So what both parties, the parties that are expected to win, if CPD is winning or Issa Tchiroma winning, whatever they say can really be the icing of the cake in those ingredients that are already there. The people are waiting, the youth are waiting. They just want to know something that will spark the violence to move to something else. And usually, what I've seen in most countries where election violence, go beyond the board, the international community will come in. There will be a lot of pressure for the opposition and the ruling party to meet to discuss why the protest is still going on, especially when it becomes very violent. For them to work together to build a government of consensus. All of those are the possibilities when violence sparks, But at the end of the day, the BIA will still be there, and then maybe they'll say, Tchiroma, you take prime minister, you do. So those are the things that will definitely occur when it goes beyond, especially when the Constitutional Council announces. Because the international community, what they do, they want to be legal, right? They will say that the Constitutional Council is the legal authority to announce elections, have determined that elections are this way, and you, Issa Tchiroma, you just have to negotiate with the ruling party. The ruling party will be there to negotiate with you and sort things out. But again, besides that, you can also have the military take over, right? And they call other elections again. So those are all possibilities, and we've had them in different countries.
Okay, très bien. Merci, Andrew Oben. So it was a pleasure having you here.
Thank you very much. Parliamentary elections are coming up early next year, the first quarter of next year. So people should get ready as well to just take the fire, remove the CPDM out of parliament and change the country the way it's supposed to be changed.
Ah, ok. Je pense que ça, c'est un autre conseil que de voir les choses d'une autre façon et de se dire qu'il faut peut-être voter et penser l'autre alternative, si c'est pas par la présidentielle que le système en place est changé, peut-être à partir des élections législatives et municipales.
Yeah.
Mais ça, c'est peut-être en espérant qu'il n'y aura pas d'autres contestations et d'autres falsifications des procès-verbaux.
Absolutely.
Je dirais que c'est un cercle vicieux. Merci beaucoup, Henry Oben. Thank you for being here with us. It was a very, very great pleasure. C'était vraiment intéressant d'entendre un consultant, quelqu'un qui se connaît autour des questions électorales, de nous édifier autour du processus électoral en cours au Cameroun. Merci à vous.
Merci, Sandrine. Thank you, Mimi. Good work.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Ok, la prochaine personne que nous allons recevoir, je pense elle était là il y a un instant, c'est Rebecca Elonchon, que nous connaissons très bien sur Twitter et ailleurs. Okay, avant Rebecca, on a Fabrice, Lina. Who is coming finally? Okay, Rebecca is here.
Rebecca is here. Hi, Rebecca.
How are you?
Hi.
Nous allons très bien.
Yeah, I've
Alors,
been watching.
je suis avec Bernard et avec Mimi. On a quelques questions pour toi. Je pense que tu vas intervenir in and out. Alors, on sait que tu suis beaucoup l'élection présidentielle. Tu suis tout ce qui se passe. Tu suis sur Twitter, sur Facebook et partout ailleurs. Quel est ton sentiment maintenant? La Commission nationale de recensement des votes a terminé ses travaux. On sait que c'est, je n'avais pas dit plié, mais c'est fini de ce côté-là. Alors, on s'attend à la proclamation des résultats dans quelques jours seulement. Je suis plus ou moins certaine que d'ici à vendredi ou à samedi prochain, on aura ces résultats. C'est certain. Et d'un autre côté, on a le candidat Issa Tchiroma Bakary qui a commencé à mettre sur la place publique des résultats sortis. Je pense qu'on a le Mungo, le Vouri et puis la Vina. Quelle est votre appréciation de tout ceci?
Wow. Alors, en fait, je pense que personne ne s'y attendait. Personne ne s'y attendait depuis le début. Qui dirige en fait les actions, c'est l'opposition qui mène le débat. Aujourd'hui, on aurait espéré que ce soit Elecam qui publie les résultats de chaque bureau de vote. Donc, on s'y attendait, mais on avait espéré, ça aurait été la meilleure solution parce que chacun peut aller regarder les résultats de son bureau de vote et voir si maintenant les chiffres qui sont remontés sont corrects. Ça n'a pas été fait et je suis très, très contente que le candidat Tchiroma ait donc affiché les raisons pour lesquelles il dit qu'il a gagné les élections sont là pour que tout le monde regarde. Et si les gens sont pas d'accord ou il y a un bureau de vote, il dit que ah non, moi dans mon bureau de vote, c'est pas comme ça qu'on a voté. Il y a une adresse mail que les gens peuvent remonter une information qui pourrait être différente de celle dans la fiche. Il avait annoncé qu'il allait le faire et c'est un travail. Écoutez, moi ça fait une semaine. Plus d'une semaine. Oh ouais, une semaine. I've been working with numbers and so I've seen all of these numbers, les PV, et c'est un travail vraiment intense. Je ne sais pas si on en avait parlé ici ou bien c'était après, mais tous les sites de crowdsourcing, où on a fait le décompte des votes, tous ont été compromis, hack, tous, sans exception. Et donc, ça a pris du temps. Donc, là où on comptait sur la technologie pour faciliter la tâche, ça n'a pas été le cas. Nous-mêmes, moi-même, je vais dire, et certains de mes collègues au travail, avons mis un nouveau site. On avait travaillé sur un nouveau site qui n'était pas ouvert au public, qui serait restreint à certains utilisateurs de partis politiques, d'organismes qui étaient en train de compiler les données. On a été hack. First day, on n'avait même pas encore commencé à rentrer les données et on a été hacké. Donc, je sais que c'est un travail qui a été manuel au lieu de là où on pouvait utiliser la technologie. Et ça montre aussi, pour moi, que lorsque l'État, le gouvernement ou ce parti veut utiliser la technologie, ils savent comment faire. Et donc, la manière dont ils bloquent et ils hackent les sites, je sais que l'un des sites, parce qu'on s'est dit le jour des élections, il y avait DISO et il y avait une autre appli.
Je sais.
On utilise l'une ou l'autre, les deux ne fonctionnaient pas. Donc, l'autre, ils avaient bloqué l'adresse IP. Ils avaient réussi à savoir quelle était l'adresse IP, l'adresse donc quand on tape. Et donc, quand les gens rentraient dedans, le système ne retrouvait pas. Et donc, il y a eu plein de ces soucis. Et ça veut dire qu'ils ont les moyens d'utiliser la technologie. Ça aurait été vraiment pas compliqué, vraiment pas cher, que Elecam remonte les données de manière électronique à l'instant même, le soir même du compte. C'est-à-dire que chacun a un device, soit un téléphone, soit qui est alloué à chaque agent ELECAM. Et dans le bureau de vote, ça remonte. Tout le monde peut voir sur un tableau de vote, ah, voilà le résultat dans mon bureau de vote. It's instant. Donc, c'est vraiment voulu. Cette histoire est volontaire. C'est exprès qu'ils ne veulent pas de transparence dans les résultats. Et donc, c'est pour ça que c'est vraiment important ce que le camp de M. Tchiroma a fait. Donc, cette transparence-là, elle est très importante et elle est très symbolique. Elle est très symbolique parce que c'est une indication de comment il pourrait gouverner. Donc, c'est une introduction à comment Tchiroma gouverne. So, it's important.
Mais est-ce que vous pensez qu'on va arriver au gouvernement de M. Tchiroma?
Can I go English now?
Yeah, you can go. Definitely, you can go.
Because, it's like after a certain hour, my French starts disappeaing. I think my brain starts to work overhead. Like it starts to heat up. So
do you see Mr. Tchiroma as a president? Because you were talking about, like, for me, like how his government can work, like everything being digitalized, everything on point, everything scanned. So, but with the result and the outcome now, do you see Mr. Tchiroma being president tomorrow?
He was elected. I mean, we, the people, we elected him. So I don't understand. Like,
but what if the council is not saying that?
Of course, they won't say that. But we knew that they wouldn't say that. Did anybody expect the Constitutional Council, ELECAM, any of them to say that Tchiroma won? Nobody, no one. I don't think anybody believes that they were going to go along with the will of the people.
So we will have a government in Etoudi, another one in Garoua. So what should happen?
In
what will happen now?
Or wherever.
I don't know.
I think that they have to start moving. We don't wait for ELECAM. We don't care. Like, we don't care what the Constitutional Council says, because it's not the will of the people. If they were interested in saying the will of the people, we wouldn't be going through all these games, these silly games that they're playing at the national voting place that Henry was talking about earlier. We wouldn't be going around all these silly games. How is it that the polling results are supposed to move from the departmental or the divisional level to the National Counting Commission in 72 hours? How is it that center came today? They arrived today. How is it that, I mean, and how? It's like they needed to figure out how to cheat. And you can't, and from what I heard from people that sat in the commission, from what I heard, the president of the commission, who is a member of the Constitutional Council, stated that the 72-hour rule in the law, in the electoral code, which would have invalidated these results from the center, because they arrived too late, and would have, and the ones from Bakary that we talked about, that Mimi spoke about earlier, invalidated them. He said that le pays. He said that they were he said that those 72-hour, that law, it's a suggestion. So you can go beyond. It's just a suggestion. At 72, the president of the commission, a constitutional council.
Okay, now that it's very clear that the laws are being twisted to favor one person and one party, which is the CPDM and its candidate, President Paul Biya. Paul Biya is no longer president until further notice. We don't know. What is going to happen if the Constitutional Council does not declare the results the way the people want?
I mean, I think we have to keep moving. In other words, I don't want us to start waiting for the Constitutional Council to do what we know that they're going to do. We need to remind them and remind the whole world that we, the people, we are sovereign, right? We are the ones who own this country. It's not the Constitutional Council that votes it in our place, right? All they're supposed to do is tell the will of the people. But if they don't want to do that, we don't have to listen to them. And so we need to also, and I think what's important, I think that the fact that the Tchiroma, that the campaign put up all of the results are putting up, because I think there are only a few of the results up so far. But I think that over the next 24 hours, all of the results to prove and demonstrate that Tchiroma won the election with all of the backup documents. I think it's critical. I think it changes so much, because you can no longer lie. Like, the Constitutional Council becomes irrelevant, completely irrelevant. And so I don't think we don't wait. We're not on their schedule, right? We're not on the schedule of the Constitutional Council. We have to decide how we make sure that our will is respected, right? So to decide, we don't wait. It's like we know what they're going to do, right? So we decide that, okay, how do we take back our country, right? We went through the election, we won the election. Those old people that are up there that don't want us, that want to steal this election from us, we're not looking at them. Right? They're not the ones deciding for us. We need to decide for ourselves. And so, yes, it will take action on behalf of all of us. All of us need to then take action in many different ways. And the streets are one. It's our country. There are streets. Alice Nkom says that, Maître Nkom, Barrister Nkom, she says that the streets are the office of the people. And that is one option, but it's not the only option. And so all of us have a myriad of tools in our toolkits to take back our country. And different actors will have different functions in doing that. But I think that one of those is, yes, is voicing as in unity. That is all of us, the community, going out and saying, this is our victory. We are so excited and we are so proud that we, in unity, in national unity, made a decision to change history. And we want to celebrate that. And we want to celebrate it in the streets. And who is going to prevent us from doing that? And I think this show of force and constant show of force by the people is important. All of those videos, we laugh because the choo-choo and everything. All of those videos, all of that excitement around the election, it means so much. People can't underestimate the power of that symbol, of people celebrating the counting of the votes, because for them, they're taking action. It's a form of taking action. And that type of taking action, like putting up the votes, the DISO app is up and running. People can go in and participate in providing data, transparent data. And so take action, even small action, today, tomorrow, like make sure. And I think the greatest action is to stay confident and stay determined. Because I'm not waiting for legislative elections or municipal. That's great. All of this will prepare us for that, but that's not what I'm waiting for. I won this one, right? We all won this one. It is our victory. And I before we move on to learn the lessons of what we did right and what we did wrong, we will do that. We will do that.
I have another question before Bernard comes in. While we are Cameroonians are mobilizing. You're saying that there are so many strategies that can be put in place to claim the people's victory. The global scene, the international community is also watching. It's got its eyes on Cameroon, but not saying anything. There are people who believe that the international community could be triggered into reacting or doing something or speaking sense into the regime or the government in place. But yet they remain silent. They are not saying anything. Why do you think there's this mute reaction from the international community?
Listen, I don't know why anybody expects the international community to be any different than what the international community has been since independence, since colonization. They didn't speak out in the 60s. They didn't speak out in the 70s. They didn't speak out in the 90s. Why are we expecting them to? They didn't speak out when the Anglophone crisis started. Why are we expecting them to do anything different? And I think that what we need to send as a message to the international community is a message. It's not that we're not asking you for anything other than to recognize that we won and don't stand in our way. So if you are going to be an accomplice of the regime in helping us, in preventing us from having our victory, we will hold you to account. Right? And so there are actions that we can take to inform the international community that we won this election. This is what our victory looks like. These are our plans. Don't stand in our way. And perhaps sometimes it's not just governments, international governments, international community. Sometimes it takes talking to some of the opposition in some of these countries so that they can act as to amplify our voice. But it must be the amplification of our voice. They are not to tell us how to conduct ourselves. They are not to tell our government what to do or not to do. They are just to amplify our voice, saying that they heard us. They have heard the Cameroonian people. And this is what the Cameroonian people have told them.
So are you predicting a revolution?
No, I
or
don't.
Something like that.
Wait. This is a revolution. By the way, we're in the middle of a revolution. The revolution has started. All revolutions don't involve violence, right? They don't all involve violence, but we are in the middle of a revolution. We have revolutionized the way Cameroonians think, the way Cameroonians have taken ownership of their lives and of their destiny. That is a revolution. For years and years and years, they told us, they convinced us that we had no power, that we had zero power. Now we know we have power. And it's something, nobody's going to take that away from us. Nobody. So we are already in the middle of our revolution. Whether the revolution remains peaceful or doesn't remain peaceful, it's up to the regime. It's not up to us. It's up to them to either respect the will of the people or to stand in the way of the people and start violence. We will never be the ones to start the violence. But if anybody does, it's going to be the regime. So let them know, and we need to tell them loud and clear, don't stand in our way. Don't stand in the way of our destiny. We have taken back our destiny. And if you want to stand, and that's the same thing to the international community. This is who we are. You're not going to, and we're not asking for them to intervene. I don't want to go begging anybody to come intervene on our behalf. No, we're not children. We're not children. I mean, it's so patronizing that they would even consider starting to tell us that, or say, oh, I can go intervene with Bia. It's not you. You can go tell Bia if you want to, that your people have said that they've moved on. They've moved on. And we've heard them. Perhaps you can also listen to them. But that's all they can do. I don't want the so-called international community. They've never done anything for us, ever. It's not in their interest. Why? Like they don't, why do we think they care?
Bena, I see you are itching. Please come in.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Becky. Ichi, and also looking at the comments, I think the viewers are interested in what you are saying. And you mentioned that Maître Alice Com said the streets are the office of the people. And there are different methods of expressing disgust or dissatisfaction with whatever the Electoral Council is going to say about, the Constitutional Council is going to say about these elections. Now, my question is, you've spoken a lot about the people talking to Paul Biya and his CPDM regime to pack and leave because the people have elected Issa Tchiroma as the next president. You and I know that these guys are not school kids who are eager to leave office or to leave school and go back home at the end of the day. They are definitely going to fight back. And if the people decide to take onto the streets, as it is their office, as Maître Alice Com said, they will definitely face the military. So what is your word to the military? I know Tchiroma has already written to the military and is advising them on how to comport themselves in the post-electoral period. So what is your word to the military at this point?
You're Cameroonian, and your duty is to the people of Cameroon, not to a political party. And I think, I think that we need to be a little bit more understanding of the current situation. I think the military isn't the same military. I think they suffer too, right? They suffer too. Many of these soldiers, they suffer too. And they're Cameroonian. And I would say to them that you're our brothers and sisters. We're all brothers and sisters in this thing. Some of our brothers we'd rather not have, but they're still our brother. Even Atanganji is a brother, even though he's going to get in so much trouble. He's one of those bad brothers. But I think that we need to all remind ourselves that we're all brothers and sisters, and there's nobody that loves this country more than another. We might have different strategies. But I think the military and all armed forces, all security forces, they're Cameroonian too. And I think they also dream for a better Cameroon. I'm not going to name names but I know I have security people. I was arrested a few years ago, so I know a few from those days and since. So, and I know that some of them have reached out very discreetly and said, thank you for your courage. Thank you for speaking out, because maybe they can't speak out, but they're not forced. And I think that I was reading somewhere today that even within the military, they're having the discussion about what orders you're allowed to follow and what orders you can not follow. And I think that they would be very reluctant at this point to turn against the people, especially if the people are peaceful. As much as I understand the anger, I think it was Martin Luther King who said, violence is the voice of the unheard. I get that. I understand fully why some people went and, were starting to burn equipment, burn buildings. I understand it, but it's not the right strategy. Right? Because it really gives them a pretext. It gives them an excuse to start repressive movements. Whereas if we do like Agboorbala and all of them did at the beginning of the Anglophone crisis, and with the way they were marching, like it's so disciplined in the streets. If we all decide, for instance, we're going to dress the same, maybe in Cameroon colors, we're going to carry our flags, and we're going to march in peace and in love. It's very, very different to kind of attack that than if we start rioting. And so I discourage the rioting, and I encourage the peaceful mark and peaceful demonstrations, peaceful. Yeah, so I think that there's a way to do it that makes it much more difficult for them to justify their violence. But we also need to keep in mind that they will infiltrate, right, and create the violence. I remember a few years ago, way at the very beginning of the Anglophone crisis, there was this young policeman that I knew, and he was being sent to Boya. He was being sent to Boya because he was young. He looked very young, to go in and look as a student and carry petrol and matches, and to start to create disorder so that it would justify police violence, right? Because here these are, so we need to be very careful. So those people that are trying to get you to engage in violent acts, they could be government people, they could be security people that are trying to find a pretext. So we need to be very, very cautious about that. But yeah, that's and I say that the streets are one way of expressing ourselves. You know, people underestimate the strength of social media. That is also a way to express. We didn't have it before, so we didn't have that option before, right? We didn't have the option of social media, so the only option we had was to go to the streets. But the amplifying of messages through the use of social media are critical. You know, I think when this election happened, if you looked at the international media was basically saying Biya won, right? Biya won. Oh, he was re-elected. It was because of our social media messages, the world saying we won, that all of a sudden that narrative started to change. And it was because of the social media, all of the information on social media, that our government started to understand that they lost. And so we can't underestimate it. Like they call them keyboard warriors and things like that. But it's still important. Like, say, it's the one way. So we shouldn't say that the only way, because then they'll say, oh, but they didn't go to the streets. But there's so many ways to, there's so many actions that every single person can take. Perhaps, and I think this is some discussion that started, is the Legal Defense Fund, funded by people that are in the diaspora, right? I always say that diaspora, you have no right, and you should not be the ones to start saying, oh, Cameroonians, you should go to the street while you're sitting in London or Paris or wherever, right? It's not up to you. But what you can say is, those Cameroonians that are taking risks in Cameroon, this is how I'm going to support them. I'm going to support them by sponsoring, by investing or putting money, in donating to a legal defense fund to make sure that they have legal services, that they can, their bail can be paid for. A bail is sometimes between 50,000. And some of these young people, they don't have 50,000, and so they have to go to prison before their trial. So those types of things are important. And also, again, amplify the message. There is nothing more powerful than a young person that's in a small village somewhere, and you know that there are thousands of people, maybe even hundreds of thousands of people that are speaking on your behalf and fighting on your behalf. So I think that there are different ways of participating. It's not just the streets, but the streets are important, and they are one of the tools in our toolkit.
Yeah, thank you so much. I would just want us to maybe at some point, because as Henry said, the ingredients for post-electoral protest and confrontation and conflict is very high. So I want us at some point to look at the tools available and kind of guard people and advise people against violence, conflict, so that our violence, protest, and rioting, so that every post-electoral communication can be peaceful, guarded, so we can protect life and protect property. When do you think you're available for us to have that conversation?
I'm here. I mean, but the thing is, I think
so what are the concrete methods, Rebecca, that you are
some of these things, right? Some of these strategies need a smaller audience. Some of these strategies are strategies that are developed. I know that, hey, all the security forces,
they are watching. They are watching.
Yeah, de la DGRE. Pardon.
So please, let us bring in Fabrice.
Let us scared about Tanganji. Il faut aller dire à Tanganji que j'ai pas peur de lui.
Yes, let us bring in Fabrice, Lena, and Are Obenson. They have been waiting backstage. Thank you so much, Lena, for your patience. I think Are is also there. Eric Chinja is here. Hello, Eric. Welcome. Yes, interesting conversation going on here. We have been hearing and listening to Rebecca tell us about the people. They need to stand up for themselves, stand up and defend their votes. There's no need to hope on the international community. You've certainly been following the conversation. I will start with you, Lena, before I go to Eric. Lena, do you want to chip in?
Yes, thank you very much, Mimi. Good evening to Madam Rebecca. Good evening to Sandrine, to Dr. Eric Chinje. It's my pleasure sharing this conversation with you all this evening. It's really the peak time of revolution. Speaking here in Yaoundé, I am on the field. We are following up what's happening on the field, going out every day to see if something new is coming. You know, if something bad is starting is here with us in Yaoundé, some of us that will decide to stay back here and say, okay, we are here, we are speaking in Yaoundé. They know where I am, they know what I'm doing. So just come for us, because we are not going to leave the country for you people. That's what you want, but we will not do that. We will not just do that. My first opinion is that it's good that you should shame people when they deserve the shame. Our chiefs and some of the clergy who visited the Unity Palace just before the presidential elections are manifesting the height of shame as people we, the younger generation, are supposed to look up to. Because this question of unity and peace being used to cover up injustice and blatant violation of electoral process cannot be tolerated. Each time there is an issue or a worry brought up by young people, by Cameroonians, the first thing you will see from the chief is a communique. We are calling on peace, calm, unity above everything else, togetherness of Cameroonians. You know, they go and look for those words that are there to somehow euphemize and soften, maybe cause conversation around softening people's heart, without looking at the deep wound of injustice, of a stolen vote. Some people have the luxury to vote in this country just after 7 years. You know what it means to vote after 7 years, almost a decade. So somebody who is voting in 2025 at the age of 20, at the age of 21, you can imagine the next time that person will have the opportunity to vote. So these chiefs are not doing us good by their regular peace and unity kind of declarations. That's the first thing. The second thing is that I was expecting at this point in time, the opposition political leaders to agree, yes, Tchiroma is commanding the opposition in terms of his performance and in terms of the results that the opposition leaders, have received from their different polling agents around the country. And therefore, it's time for us to act as a united front. And this was my first plea immediately after I saw the trend on Sunday 12th. Because I don't understand why the leader of SDF, PCRN, or the other candidates who got parties from different people are still playing in between the fence kind of stuff, standing on the fence, making subtle statements, and then not coming clear. This is not time for people to be in between. This is time for clarity and position. Like, you have to take a position and say, hey, Cameroonians, yes, we were receiving maybe return reports from our polling agents throughout the country. At this point in time, this is what we have received. And from the analysis of what we have received, this is what we can tell you transparently, clearly, that it's the result we have obtained from our scrutineers. But no, you're seeing people dancing Bafia dance, and for me, it's shameful, because opposition is supposed to be united than ever before. Put everything behind them to stand as one voice, even if the process of coalition before the post of 12 did not work as the people wanted. This is another opportunity to correct the errors and now stand firm behind the person who has outstandingly given commanding performance in the process. That's number two. Number three is I expect a kind of collective action from everybody, including civil society and opinion leaders.
Yes, Lena, I'm going to come back to you because I know you have a lot to talk. This is,
okay.
I just want
Maybe
it to
let
be a
me talk here from now.
conversation.
All right.
Yes, we shouldn't allow one person to talk for too long
right.
because we are now many of us. I want to go to Eric to just find out.
Okay.
Eric, the biggest fear, because I've seen a lot of people commenting that they are worried about, people are skeptical. They are in really, they are afraid that the Constitutional Council would not announce the will of the people, which is something that many people have been talking about. Do you fear unrest or violence after that?
Thank you, Mimi. I'm trying to put my microphone on. No. Your question is whether I fear unrest or not. Look, a couple of things. One, I wish I had recorded what Rebecca said. I would have just played that back and then everything would be fine, right? But I didn't record it, so I'm not going to play it back, and I'll just give you my own answers to that. First of all, we cannot look. The truth has been spoken. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what happens. Elecam has rendered itself almost. We can't believe what comes out of Elecam anymore. We can't, for Elecam to have thrown out Maurice Kamto was already a problem. And then we come into the Constitutional Council and we expected a difference, and it wasn't. So the legal institutions of this country have not only been a disgrace to Cameroon, they've exposed Cameroon to the world. And the implications of that may not be obvious to most Cameroonians, but the implications of that is that we cannot trust the judiciary, we cannot trust the legal systems in Cameroon. So nobody who has good intentions for Cameroon, there are people who've wanted to come to the country to invest, but they can't because they cannot trust the protection that the legal systems have to produce and have to provide them. So, we are destroying the country slowly and steadily, which is why we all reached out for change. Most Cameroonians will be wondering, why are all of these fellows in the diaspora so against the system? No, we are for Cameroon. We are for the country. And we are against those who consistently now destroy the hopes of a whole generation of young people, of all of us who mean well for Cameroon. That's the problem. And my hope, and all of us who desire to see a country that we are all proud of, when we can no longer have that, that's part of the problem we face with a better Cameroon. I'm hoping that as we go forward, we've just come out of elections which have been disastrous, because we're all looking at the count. We're looking at the outcome of the elections, and everything is a fraud. How can we accept to live in a country where the fundamental, the playbook is all by, fraudulence? How can we? I mean, Cameroon never was this way. Was never this way, and now this country, we know. From the Cameroon of the 70s and the 80s, no longer recognize what I see right now. Something has to change. Something has to give. We cannot say that a country that has so much wealth, a country that the world once respected, is no longer in a position to provide its citizens with the most basic amenities, basic infrastructure. Agricultural produce. We're no longer able to feed our children. There's a problem. I think it's important that we all understand why Mr. Biya has been. That the vast majority of Cameroonians, whether we like it or not, the truth is the vast majority of Cameroonians believe that not only does Mr. Biya and the system that he has built are in a position to lead Cameroon out of the mess in which it is in, I think the vast majority of Cameroonians really hope that this election, with the win by Mr. Tchiroma, will help lead us out of the mess in which we are. I'm not alone saying this. I hope we can all agree that
C'est une question très rapide, Eric. On comprend très bien que vous dites que les Camerounais, c'est difficile de vivre dans un pays où on a parlé de fraude et tout, mais qu'est-ce qu'ils doivent faire maintenant? Où tout indique que le Conseil constitutionnel est pratiquement à la solde du régime en place, qui est à la solde du système en place. Que doivent faire les Camerounais? Se dire qu'il ne faut plus croire aux élections, ne plus croire en rien. Quelle serait leur attitude? On comprend très bien qu'il y a des frustrations de part et d'autre. Ils l'ont d'ailleurs exprimé et ils s'expriment tout le temps. Mais qu'est-ce qu'ils devraient faire, à votre avis?
Merci énormément, Sandrine. Nous sommes tous Camerounais. Nous voulons le meilleur pour notre pays. Nous ne voulons pas tout détruire. Ceux qui veulent, n'est-ce pas, que ce soit la rue qui impose une nouvelle règle. Moi, je crois que c'est pas ce que nous recherchons. Nous recherchons la vérité. Nous recherchons l'honnêteté. Nous recherchons l'amour du pays, le patriotisme. C'est ce que nous recherchons. Mais malheureusement, il y a ceux qui ont l'accès aux ressources, à la richesse de la nation. Il y a ceux qui ont la possibilité de gérer, enfin ceux qui gèrent, si vous voulez, n'est-ce pas, la richesse du Cameroun. Ils veulent absolument que rien ne bouge, qu'il n'y ait pas changement. Ils veulent imposer leurs lois. Et c'est là où nous, les Camerounais, ceux qui aiment vraiment le pays, ceux qui sont prêts à partager la richesse du Cameroun, parce que c'est ce que nous ne voyons pas, ceux qui sont prêts à partager cette richesse et empêcher à une poignée de gens d'imposer leurs lois. C'est ça le problème qui se pose aujourd'hui. C'est ça. Et moi, j'aimerais vraiment que nous tous, ceux qui aiment ce pays, ceux qui disent que non, la richesse du pays doit être partagée, n'est-ce pas, entre nous, les enfants du pays, pour qu'on impose une nouvelle règle. Et c'est ça le problème de fond aujourd'hui. On ne parle pas quand on parle de la fraude. Non, ça va, on comprend bien. Mais ce n'est pas de ça qu'il s'agit. Il s'agit là de l'intérêt de la nation. Que nous tous qui ont accès, n'est-ce pas, à la richesse du pays. Ceux comme nous qui ont accès à ça devraient penser à un meilleur partage. Et c'est
Très bien, ok. Je pense que Ben a une question et on va revenir à Fabrice Dina juste après, avant de conclure avec Rebecca, avec Becky Rebecca. Ben, you're muted.
Thank you all. Eric, thank you for having you here again. Just want to read into the thoughts of Issa Tchiroma Bakary. 2 days ago, he issued a public letter to Cameroon's security and military forces. What do you think is running across his mind at this moment, or when he was writing that letter?
Thanks, Bernard. Look, I think Mr. Tchiroma is in a single lane, the lane of truth, the lane of what the popes are saying. There is not a single honest Cameroonian who thinks that Mr. Biya won these elections. Not one. Not even the members of his government. Honest Cameroonian. Not even the members of his government. So if clearly he lost the elections, why would you think that? And he lost to somebody. Mr. Biya didn't lose to the streets. He was in competition with 12 people, 11 other people. One of them clearly came out in the lead, and that was Mr. Tchiroma. Let's not bury our heads in the sand. If any Cameroonian, any one of them, loves this country, any one of the people in government loves this country, please admit to what is so obvious to not only us, but the world. Mr. Tchiroma won. Let Mr. Biya, if he, except he wants to take Cameroon to the grave with him, if Mr. Biya loves this country, he should call Tchiroma and let the two of them have a discussion. Mr. Tchiroma can reassure him that he will be protected. Mr. Tchiroma can give Mr. Biya basic guarantees of living the rest of his days in peace and in wealth, if that's what he wants. If he wants to go and live in a hotel in Switzerland, I am almost certain if he asks for that, Mr. Tchiroma can let him have it to a certain extent. His salary as president, which can be guaranteed to him, or a third of that salary, will pay the rest of his days in the hotel Intercontinental in Geneva. If that's what Mr. Biya wants, let him take it and his family and leave, and let Cameroon come back together. If Mr. Biya doesn't do that, then let it be known by every Cameroonian, and I know this man. He has said, let me tell you a story. He told the ambassador to Gabon when he went to take part in the burial of Mr. Bongo, Omar Bongo. He told the ambassador, have you seen how a president is buried? And the ambassador said, yes, Mr. President. Do you know where that ambassador is today? You don't. That ambassador is Mr. Ayolo. He's the director of cabinet in the presidency. He's the one who would organize the burial of the president if he died in office. So the question you ask is that what Mr. Biya meant? Does he want to die in office? And I can tell you, there is one of the closest friends of the president told me in 1997, that Mr. Biya will die in office, that he wants to die in office. This guy,
So, just something to help you on that. So, are you saying that Mr. Biya was just like, I don't want to say that word, it can be hurtful. Like, he was not saying like the truth when on that day of the October 12th, he said, I remember when then we were talking about it, that I don't want to put any project up when I'm not sure that I can be elected. Like, so what is happening now? So now we are saying that he's supposed to be calling Mr. Tchiroma. So if it's not calling until now, so what just like a word from politics, and then does it know that he might not have won the election? So in your point of view, what's going on?
Well, I mean, I can say one thing, and I'm sure Rebecca will agree with me. Mr. Biya knows he lost the elections. He knows it. We've seen reports going to him from a number of sources. We have someone in-house who's been monitoring this. So we know he knows he lost the elections. The only thing Mr. Biya is counting on now is that the people who are in charge of the process want to keep it as it is, the status quo. They want to maintain it. So, Mr. Atangana, where do you think he will go if he gave the victory to somebody else? He'll be replaced. He doesn't want that. The folks in Elekam, they don't have to be replaced, but they might be replaced. So they all know Mr. Biya has one thing I can give this president is he studied the mindset, the mentality of Cameroonians, and he's played on it every day. Mr. B has never gone to work to think about the future of Cameroon. The president goes to work most days trying to understand who is where and what are they looking at. And Mr. Atanganji comes at 2 o'clock in the morning with reports on what everybody is saying and others. We know this. So Mr. Bia has been more interested in ragot is the word in French, about people.
Yeah.
That's what he's been most interested in. They can control them. Not the future of this country. It is time, Cameroonians. Young people, if you want a future, it is time to demand that this country serve you. That this country.
Eric, let me ask a question I asked, and maybe Rebecca is going to say what you're going to say what Rebecca said, but how should the young people demand that this country serves them at this material moment where we've listened to the elections expert, we've listened to the constitutional, to the journalist, we've listened to Fabrice. Every indication points to the fact that the Constitutional Council is not going to serve the young people. So how should the young people demand that this country serves them?
I really love what Rebecca said, what Alice Nkom has said, what a host of them have said. Reminding the young people that you go to your office. You have to go to your office. Your office is on the streets. Go to your office and demand it. Their office is on the streets. I'm not asking for people to riot. No. Go for, maybe a peaceful march. Prepare your placards and say, we want change. We want the outcome of these elections to be declared. We know that. How in the world could Mr. Biya have won in the Northwest and the Southwest regions? The same place where thanks to his declaring war, millions, not thousands of people are either dead, out of the country, or out in the other regions except in the Northwest and the Southwest. How in the world? Look, all of those ministers, from Mr. Yang Philemon, Mba Acha, Mbayu Felix, all of them, they should be even ashamed to declare to the world and to the rest of us that Mr. Biya won in the Northwest and Southwest. That you come and you kill, or you create the circumstances for the death of my cousin, and the mothers and the brothers and the sisters of people, and then they come out and elect you. That is the insult of the century. And anybody watching this program who thinks we are being emotional, please reflect. Where in the world would you see this happening? That the same guy who comes and destroys your livelihood, destroys your homes, kills some of your people, and so creates the environment for death and destruction. And then you come around and you say, hey, this is the guy to govern us. No, it doesn't make sense, right? So all the votes that Mr. Biya is supposed to have gotten from the Northwest and the Southwest regions, please hand them back to whoever got them. You didn't get them. You did not get them. And I can say that with emphasis. So yeah, I don't know if I answered your question, but we've got to rethink a lot of things. And we want to save Cameroon. We want our country to serve all of us. There are lots of us, hundreds of thousands of Cameroonians in the diaspora who want to come back and invest in that country to make a difference. Many of us want to be like Rebecca and Oncha, come back and give back to this country. I'll be coming next week anyway.
Somebody from the CPDM will say you're shooting yourself in the foot because you cannot make that argument and use Rebecca as an example because she's been there all this while.
Well, she is, and I've been in and out of Cameroon, but I want to come back finally now, and there are many of us who are in the same position.
Thank you so much. I know what I got from your answer is the young people should express their minds and say they need their country back. They could demonstrate peacefully. They could write their placards. Rebecca said it's a conversation that could be had in a more restrained environment for strategic and tactical reasons. Sandrine, over to you.
Oui, Sandrine.
Okay, I would like to ask something to Fabrice, who is in Yaoundé. I know that Fabrice, like, he has a lot of stuff like to tell us around everything. So now that the commission, la Commission nationale de recensement des votes a terminé ses travaux. So did you had a chance to maybe talk about to other political parties that were around? So what is their expectation now? What are they thinking?
On peut le dire en français.
Nous, on fait conversation avec les gars d'autres partis politiques, tous les jours. On a ces conversations. J'ai beaucoup d'amis dans d'autres partis politiques. Tous les partis politiques que j'ai mentionnés, j'ai beaucoup d'amis là-bas, qu'on discute tout le temps. Et on se connaît très bien. On fait les activités, puisque au Cameroun, il y a très peu de jeunes qui s'engagent dans la politique. Mais quand on discute parfois, tu entends ceux qui sont les leaders intermédiaires, un peu comme moi, qui sont peut-être pas à la tête, mais entre les cadres de cette, ils vont dire, mais ça, la décision finale revient au chef, ça revient au président du parti, ça revient, et c'est un peu ça qui est notre grand souci. Et les attentes sont autour des oui. Tout le monde dit oui, Tchiroma a gagné. Vraiment, les PV, même nos PV montrent qu'il a gagné. Mais je vous dis, il faut dire à vos leaders qu'il fait un communiqué public pour dire ça clairement. Pourquoi il tourne autour de peau? Pourquoi pas faire une déclaration pour éclairer l'opinion publique et l'opinion internationale que voilà la position que vous avez prise? Donc, pour moi, selon moi, je pense que tout le monde connaît la vérité, mais il y a certaines personnes qui ne veulent pas le déclarer. C'est juste mon sentiment. Mais sur l'attente de ce qui va se passer avec la Cour constitutionnelle, il n'y a pas... Tout le monde aujourd'hui savent qu'ils sont là pour le système en place et ils sont là pour l'ordre de la présidence. Parce que ceux qui sont là, ils sont tellement confortables qu'ils ne se voient pas quitter la présidence aujourd'hui pour quelqu'un d'autre. Donc, c'est question des rapports de force. C'est question des... Qu'est-ce que nous autres, de ces côtés, on peut faire? C'est question des... C'est pour cela que moi, j'ai déjà dit, je demande mutualisation des forces. Je ne vois pas aujourd'hui qu'est-ce qui l'empêche encore que tous les leaders politiques viennent ensemble ou tous les leaders de la société civile viennent ensemble pour demander ou revendiquer cette victoire de Issa Tchiroma. Ça, c'est mon analyse personnelle, c'est que je vois sur le terrain et c'est que je ressens. Parce que si tout le monde, imaginons que sur les 11 candidats, d'autres candidats, il y a 4 qui ont déjà quand même fait une déclaration en faveur de Issa Tchiroma. Donc, toutes ces 4 continuer à travailler, établir peut-être une commission des lobbying des autres candidats et peut-être certains leaders d'opinion et leaders politiques pour dire que, OK, on va donc faire un communiqué conjoint, un communiqué commun pour demander que, OK, voilà le conduit à tenir, voilà ce qu'on va faire dans les prochains jours en ce qui concerne cette victoire de notre camarade ou notre homologue qui a gagné les élections. Ça, c'est pour moi la logique à suivre. Puisque pour faire les déclarations dispersées, chacun à son coin, faire les analyses et après il fait ses publications sur Facebook, après il prend ses rendez-vous médiatiques, il part discuter. Oui, c'est bon, mais ceux qui sont à Etoudi, dans les laboratoires ou bien cabinets noirs, ils sont en train de rire parce qu'ils disent que les gens, si on savait qu'ils vont toujours faire comme ça pour que parce que puisqu'on fait dans l'opposition, puisqu'on fait synergie sur ce qu'on va faire concrètement, puisqu'ils ont peur. Donc, ils ont tellement peur des actions communes. Donc, ces gens sont tellement peur des actions communes. Mais quand ils voient les gens réagissent de manière individuelle, de manière non identique de leurs partis politiques, ils sont contents parce qu'ils savent que ça va aboutir que dans les stratégies. Et les gens passent leur temps à critiquer les stratégies des uns des autres au lieu de converger l'énergie sur ce qui est l'essentiel. Ce qui est l'essentiel aujourd'hui, c'est que Bia doivent quitter le pouvoir. Et on doit maintenant focaliser sur comment bâtir un autre Cameroun sans Bia. Ça, c'est une question de chronologie, c'est une question de référence et de priorité. de priorité de tout Camerounais aujourd'hui et tout leader politique aujourd'hui, c'est qui bien quitter le pouvoir. Qu'est-ce qu'on peut faire ensemble pour qu'il quitte le pouvoir? On a toute opportunité aujourd'hui qui se place devant nous. On a toute opportunité, vraiment. Une opportunité pour moi, si on rate, je crains quand est-ce qu'on va encore avoir ce genre d'opportunité devant nous comme ça. Donc pour moi, c'est que on réagisse ensemble. Les sentiments des uns des autres n'est pas vraiment ce qui est plus important. Ce qui est plus important, c'est que nous on définit nos priorités et on agisse vers là.
Merci Fabrice. J'allais justement m'interroger avec Rebecca. Est-ce que la position de l'opposition au Cameroun aujourd'hui ne fragilise pas l'intention réelle de changement? Parce que depuis avant les élections, depuis plusieurs années, on entend l'opposition crier, oh, il faut un changement, il faut changer le système en place, il faut que M. Biya soit dégagé du palais, il faut, mais lorsque vient le moment de se mettre ensemble pour le faire, l'opposition a disparu, on avance de façon dispersée. Pendant la campagne électorale, il y a eu beaucoup de semaines à discuter sur la coalition. Pour finir, il n'y a pas eu de coalition. Même après les élections, on en est encore là. Fabrice parlait de 4 partis politiques qui ont fait des communiqués, mais j'ai envie de dire que c'était des communiqués qui n'étaient pas si affirmatifs que cela. C'était de, OK, il faut que ou bien que les institutions respectent la voix du peuple. On sait que les résultats ne nous ont pas été favorables. Beaucoup de phrases, mais qui ne sont pas allées jusqu'à l'essentiel. Dernier cas encore, il y a hier ou 2 jours, Monsieur Issa, qui est représentant du FSNC, a quitté la salle des travaux au niveau de la Commission nationale de recensement des votes. Il y avait les 10 autres partis politiques de l'opposition sur place. Qu'est-ce qui manque? Qu'est-ce qu'il faut? Est-ce que ce n'est pas ce jeu de l'opposition qui fait que le pouvoir continue de se dire on a encore toutes les cartes dans nos mains et manipule les autres pour continuer à être là?
So you remember when we had le grand débat? Remember the grand débat? You remember how desperate we were to get that coalition going?
Yes.
Do you now understand how irrelevant all of those parties are in the election? In other words, the people I disagree with you is that there has been a coalition. It's a coalition of the people. Yeah. It's not a coalition of the parties. We don't care about what the parties want anymore. We're not waiting for them. Nobody should wait for those political parties or the leaders to come and all of a sudden wake up and decide that, oh, it's true. We should get together. They won't do it. We saw it during the election. And what happened is the people sent them an incredibly strong message that some of them till now don't want to listen to. We want a vote utile. We want all of us to follow one candidate because we want to win. And the numbers for the other we're not even talking about the other candidates and the results. They're astoundingly terrible. The message that the people have sent to those parties is, you are now irrelevant. Where you had an opportunity to do something for your nation, you decided to betray us. You decided to betray our trust. You decided to betray our all the efforts and the energy we put into supporting you. And you know what? We're moving on. We've moved on. We've made a decision and we're moving on. And so we need to make sure that we do not wait for political parties, including that of Mr. Tchiroma. In other words, we, the people, it is our victory. We need to decide together, and as I said, in a more closed setting, what we will do to ensure our victory. And we're not waiting for any political leader to help us. We're not looking for any of them to support us. We need to do it because it's the right thing to do. It's our destiny. They have their political calculations that they do, and they don't want to this, and I don't care about them anymore. They've shown that they are irrelevant. The numbers, 0.something%, not even 1%, most of them. So why are we even talking about them? Why are we wasting our energy trying to convince people that they're irrelevant? So we
So
need
that
to just move on.
that means we need to have some shares for the next election, for example. So that means we can't trust them anymore.
I'm not talking about the next election.
Okay.
until we have secured this one. I'm not talking about it, right?
Okay.
We need to focus on securing our victory. And I don't want to hear any other conversation about any other election. We need to secure this one first. Once we have secured this victory, we can talk about everything we did right, everything we did wrong during this election, once we have power. But we need to make sure that that power that we fought for, that we actually, it's respected and that we are able to secure it. So in the meantime, I don't care about the political parties right now. We'll worry about them at another time. Right now, we need to take our destiny and focus on making sure that this particular election does not get stolen from us.
Eric Chinjas, quel est votre point de vue? Comme se dit, ces partis politiques de l'opposition, finalement, on découvre leur jeu. C'est quoi leur jeu exact en ce moment-ci? C'est quoi votre opinion sur la question?
Enfin, je suis très content que Rebecca ait dit ça en anglais pour que moi je puisse le dire en français. Pour tous ceux qui n'ont pas compris, nous ne comptons plus sur les partis politiques. Nous avons vu la limite de ces gens-là, leur limite. Il y a une poignée de gens qui dirigent nos partis politiques, mais qui ne savent pas. En fait, on se demande si ces gens s'intéressent à un pays qu'on appelle le Cameroun. C'est un groupe, ils n'ont pas. Moi, j'ai discuté avec la plupart de ces gens-là quand on était préoccupé par le fait d'avoir une coalition. Et je me suis rendu compte qu'aucun ne s'intéressait à l'idée d'une coalition. Ils le savent. Hein, ils le savent puisque je leur ai parlé. Etoudi, Ateki, Akeremuna, Bouba Bello, tout ce monde-là, je leur ai parlé de la coalition. Et ça ne les intéresse nullement. Donc, s'ils s'intéressaient à notre pays, le Cameroun, ils allaient quand même chercher à réunir, n'est-ce pas, leur programme politique et identifier la personne mieux placée pour porter ce programme. Il a fallu que ce soit les Camerounais, en leur grande majorité, qui imposent un candidat. Et ce candidat, c'est Issa Tchiroma. Et il a imposé pourquoi? Je crois que le groupe de Douala a aidé dans ce sens. Parce qu'ils ont identifié un programme. Monsieur, si vous êtes d'accord pour faire telle et telle chose, et rester un seul mandat réduit à 5 ans, si ça vous intéresse, venez avec nous. La seule personne qui a voulu le faire, c'était Issa Tchiroma. Et ils l'ont annoncé donc comme candidat. Non, il ne faut pas charrier. Tous ces gars-là, ils ont le droit. Ils sont chefs. Ils se sont présentés parce qu'ils voulaient arriver au pouvoir. C'est tout à fait normal. Mais si c'était pour arriver au pouvoir et changer le Cameroun, je ne crois pas que c'était ça leur but. Ils voulaient être le prochain Paul Biya, qui allait gérer le pays pendant peut-être 20 ans, 30 ans, 40 ans, pour ne pas faire grand-chose, pour laisser les routes, les infrastructures dans cet état-là, sans électricité, sans l'eau, les hôpitaux en état délabré. N'est-ce pas? Peut-être qu'il voulait être le prochain Paul Biya. Monsieur Biya ne peut pas imaginer que le Camerounais normal va le plébisciter. Et lui ajouter encore à 93 ans la possibilité Enfin, il y a M. Mo Ibrahim qui lui a demandé, vous voulez gérer votre pays, c'est pour amener le pays dans le cercueil avec vous. C'était ça. Que les Camerounais soient sérieux. S'ils aiment leur pays, il faut oublier tout ce monde-là. Il faut qu'on remette le pays sur les rails. Donnons le pouvoir à un monsieur comme Tchiroma qui a accepté de revoir toute la structure, n'est-ce pas, administrative du pays, remettre ce pays sur une autre trajectoire pour refaire l'économie, rebâtir le pays, l'école, la santé, ainsi de suite. C'est ce qu'il faut aujourd'hui. Tout Camerounais qui aime son pays doit exiger ces éléments-là. Et ça peut se faire. C'est pas si compliqué que cela. C'est pas si compliqué que cela.
Okay, I don't know if Bernard has some question for Eric or Rebecca, and I'm pretty sure that I don't know if we have another guest coming. Otherwise, maybe I think it's my starting to be a little bit late for Fabrice, and we have a few minutes to spend together.
Yeah, I have a question for Fabrice. You were talking about the communication with you and leaders of other political parties and the lower rank members. My question is, what has come out of Constitutional Council is definitely not what Cameroonians are expecting. And when you talk to them, to the junior ranking people of those political parties, are they ready to put forces together to join Tchiroma to defend his votes? Or in fact, what is the general sentiment around you in Yaoundé?
Yeah, many of the young people with whom I discuss are ready to do that, but there are a lot of institutional constraints within political parties. So not every political party is flexible. Myself, I'm a product of such experience because I quite engaged in politics as far back as 2014. So I can tell the story of what it feels like as a young person to be in a political party, and then you want to raise a point that you're seeing it clear, but they say, "Hey, young man, keep quiet. You don't yet have the appropriate, I don't know whether it's profile or age or what, that will permit you to make your opinion count." So a lot of young people suffer that in our political landscape in the country. And most of these political parties are managed by really people that are very, very autocratic. Very autocratic that once you are of a certain age bracket, your opinion don't really count, no matter how good the idea is, no matter how beautiful you present the idea. You see, so I understand what many young people who are intermediate leaders, those who are maybe managing strategic positions in the party, but not really the main figures in those parties go through. So I would say that many will definitely join if they don't see any consequence to their personal, maybe some kind of personal interest or things that might affect them by decision that their leaders can take. Because in this process, there are two kinds of interests that people evaluate, personal and collective. So there are some people whose drive for collective interest is more than the drive for personal interest, and there are others whose drive for personal interest is more than the collective interest. So me, I'm driven by the fact that I want to see Cameroon good. So most of the time I would tell the
Okay, we lost Fabrice, and I want to just come in quickly here to say I've been monitoring and looking at the temperature in the comment section, and Cameroonians are more determined than what we even think. I know that we have been talking about opposition leaders working together. When the discussion was about relying on the opposition, people were hoping, and then later they said they don't even care whether the opposition comes together or not. And even when there were talks about maybe things can possibly start changing in the municipal legislatives, and as soon as Rebecca said, no, we are focused on the now, not the future, we saw how they were saying, yes, we are focused on now. We don't want to think about next year. So from the start of these discussions, we've seen young Cameroonians are already so empowered that they say that they will do everything within their power to ensure that there's power change. I will start with you, Rebecca. Would you see young people doing exactly what they want instead of listening or waiting for any expert, for any opposition party leader to lead the way?
I think they have, like the elections and the way they conducted themselves, the way they followed their vote, I'm so proud of our young people and how determined they are to take their country back. So I think they've already started to I don't like the word empower, because it almost means that you're getting the power from somewhere else. Right? I think that Cameroonians, young people, have recognized that the power that they already have, and they're starting to use it. And so all we can do, us, the older generation, even though I'm old, except for Eric. Eric's my big brother. Everybody else. I think what we can do is accompany them, amplify their voice, guide if they want, give advice, like be by their side. But we're not going to be in front. Right now, we're led by the youth. We're led by the young people. And all we can do is say, okay, I'm going to stand by you. I'm going to stand by your side. What is it you want to do? We're going to help you accomplish your goals and your dreams. That's our role. Our role isn't to go and say, oh, you need to go march, or you need to, if you want to go march, we'll help you march, right? We'll help you organize your march. We'll help you, all the other things that go around the march, like organizing legal defense and things like that. But the youth, you already hold the power. You hold the power, and you have demonstrated your power like never before. And no one will ever take it away from you. And all I can do, and Eric and Mimi, is amplify your voice and support you in taking that power back.
Absolutely.
Yes, Eric, you want to come in on that as well before we conclude?
I just, want to reemphasize what Rebecca just said. Look, it is time to love your country again. It's time to be angry enough and deny to accept the current state of Cameroon. This is a country we all should be proud of. We call it Le Continent. We call it the continent, Africa in miniature, for a reason. If anybody doesn't know why we call it Africa in miniature, go find out. It's precisely because we've got everything the continent has to be proud of. Why aren't we proud of Cameroon? We used to be proud of Cameroon. I left that country, like Rebecca, went to the United States, and I came back. I was in a hurry to come back for my studies because we loved Cameroon. And now we're all crying for the beloved country. It's not normal. So we let the young people know that they could have a better country. It's time to say that. And time to tell all these greedy men and women who have seized and controlled the wealth of that country and want to stay there and continue to look out. Somebody was just telling us the other day, went to the home of Ayolo and saw 70 cars. 70. Give those 70 cars, Monsieur Ayolo, donnez ces voitures aux bensineurs, ils vont faire mieux avec. So, what's the point? What is this greed about? So it's time for the young people to reclaim their country. Take Cameroon back. Take back your country. And do not let a handful. There are lots of my friends in government. Rebecca and I have a lot of friends in this government. There are lots of them who will be very angry with what we are saying. But please understand that we love Cameroon more. I want to leave this world and meet God, telling him I did what I could to make that country a better place than I met it. That's what I look forward to. I don't know how much more time. I don't even know. Look, I want to go to Cameroon next week. But I don't know that, I'll be going back with pride to Cameroon. So, Mimi, I hope every young man...
Eric, if I can interrupt you,
please,
I think
yes.
you should go back with pride. Not because of the infrastructure, but because of the people, right?
Yeah.
You can stand up so proud to see what our young people have done for us. And so really, I think, don't worry, like the infrastructure, we'll get to that.
Yes,
but the first thing is we can be so proud of what our people did on October 12th.
No,
yes,
thank you.
So just briefly before you conclude, Eric, there's one young man from Boya who wants to join us. Just briefly to say his mind before we conclude and and end the show. Technicians should be getting him on board. Hello, Nembo. How are you? Welcome.
Thank you. I'm fine.
Yes. Yes. What do you have to tell us this evening, this night?
Yes, it's nice. It's nice.
We are listening. Yes.
I've just been getting the conversations, and I just want to be informed to find out about the things like what we have to do at this point in time concerning the results, because obviously we know that they are going to be falsified, and we need to know what to do, because actually we are fed up here in Cameroon. We are really fed up. We can't just fold our arms.
Eric, you want to respond, or maybe Rebecca?
Yeah, I'll do, and then Rebecca can chime in. That's the reason we're appealing to the forces of law and order, to the police, to the military, to gendarmes. I'm sure you have brothers, sisters in, where you are. In the military, you have brothers and sisters and parents, and you must want the best for them. And do not let a handful, and this is my point, do not let a handful of men and women who want to protect their individual interests send you to go and do the dirty work for them. Please do not let that. If these elections were transparent and credible, they will not need the army to resolve them. They wouldn't. They only need the army because they want to protect a falsehood. They want to protect a big lie. And that big lie is that Mr. Biya deserves to be president of Cameroon again. It's a big lie. And they want the army to protect it. So every soldier, gendarme, police officer, customs, you name it, people who are called upon to protect the nation, please do not fall into that lie. Give this country a chance to regenerate, to rebuild, and to get back to where Cameroon should be as one of the leading nations on the African continent. Becky.
So I would just say that I'm sure that there will be a national day of taking back our power, right? However, whatever form it takes, I'm sure that people are working on coordinating that right now. It might be before the Constitutional Council announcement, after. It doesn't really matter. Their schedule is their schedule. We're not on their schedule. We are on our schedule. And so I don't want everything to feel like it has to be tied to whatever calendar they've set for themselves, because it is for themselves. It's not for us. And so you, as long as we're united, as long as we go in hand, we'll overcome. I'm not worried. I'm so optimistic. This has been, and I remember election day, I was so optimistic, and even more so than most, right? Nobody believed that we could do this. And I kept saying, I could be wrong, right? And I'd rather believe and be wrong than not believe and be right. And I'm so glad that I believed. And so I think that we need to keep believing, even when things look so dim and it looks so impossible. We look at what we accomplished on October 12th. What can't we do going forward? And so we shouldn't fear. What are they going to do? What fear is a personal feeling. You decide if you want to feel that or not, right? Me, I have it. Maybe it's a natural thing. I don't get scared a lot, except for offending gods. But like I don't fear man, that much. And I don't think young people, you shouldn't be afraid, right? You have the power. Remember that you hold the power. They want to take it from you, but you have it. And so don't fear. That's the, our son from Boya. Just know that you're not alone. We're all accompanying you. We will walk by you. We will stand by you. We will support you throughout this period, but you own the power.
Do we have another person who wants to
I don't
join?
think so.
Mr. Ebai, how are you? Do you want to say something before we go?
Yes, Mimi, thank you very much. And I want to say good evening to everybody in the studio. I just want to say some few things that are happening here in Yaoundé, especially from what we are getting from behind the scene. Like initially, they had their plan B. Their plan B was supposed to be if maybe the people have to demonstrate for their rights, and they are planning to do a coup d'etat, which is being fabricated by them, like somebody do the coup d'etat, take the power, then still hand it over to the Ngongos, so they continue ruling the system. So I don't know how truthful it is, but I've gotten this news like 2 months ago, even before the elections. So I think that is what we too should be thinking of. What if this their plan B work? What are we going to do? Like, are we going to start trying to see our own plan B? I don't know, because everybody knows who is the winner of the election, and like I said, maybe a close friend of mine who is working with the presidential guard told me this thing like 2 months ago, and now I'm also getting it from another police officer. So I don't know how true it is. That's all I wanted to share with you guys. Yeah, thank you.
Eric, would you
Merci.
want to comment on rumors?
You're muted.
Moi, j'ai du mal parce que je pense pas qu'on
what the
s'attendait à
Bangor
ceci il y a
said,
quelques mois.
we did hear that. We heard that prior to the elections, during the elections, and since, after the elections. So clearly there's some plan B at some, but we don't, anybody who wants to engage in that should know that they'll be destroying a country that we can participate in that destruction, and nobody wins. So it should be, the Gabon, Cameroon is not Gabon. Cameroon is not Burkina Faso. Cameroon is Cameroon. Cameroon is Le Continent. It's the African miniature. We should be setting the example. Look, if these elections do not allow us to resolve the problem of leadership in the country, I'd rather, as I think it was Cabral Libi or somebody who called for an annulment of the elections and a reorganization. But something needs to, we need to take a process that allows us to get to the leadership we deserve. So that's why I'm for the people to take back their power, go back to their office. That office is on the streets. Take back the power and demand a rectification of the problem. I think we can, if we love Cameroon. That's all I'm saying.
So yes, thank you so much, Ebaingo Theodore. I think he had contributed also when on the 12th of October when Cameroonians were voting. We thank you so much for your relentless effort and your persistence. And yes, thank you so much. But this is also a very sensitive kind of conversation. Probably we can go back and think about it and see how to better discuss it before we bring it here on board. But we thank you for bringing that up. Thank you. Yes. So Bernard, I don't know if you have final questions for Eric and Rebecca before we go, but I think our time is up. It's always difficult to say goodbye to the thousands of people watching, but we have to still go. Okay. Sandrine, any final questions? Anything else?
No, at this point, no. I'm just hoping that we might maybe try to have, like, I would say, like, people have like legal things to understand what my what we should like think about the way that is happening. Like, I don't know if you are getting me, like the legal part. Est-ce qu'on peut
Yes,
avoir
also,
des
yes, we're supposed to
avocats,
have
des personnes comme
Barrister
ça là?
Sim today. We're
Absolument.
supposed to
Yeah.
have Barrister Sim. I'm
Yeah.
sure that
It's
he was
okay.
caught up.
Je pense aussi qu'avec la récente sortie de Issa Tchiroma, je pense que c'était aujourd'hui alors qu'il était sur le plateau de Canada, peut-être il y a des choses comme ça qui ont dû se passer, mais je pense que ce serait une bonne occasion pour nous dans les jours à venir de voir comment est-ce que les hommes de loi perçoivent ce qui se passe, parce que au départ, avec la sortie de M. Tchiroma, celle d'Atanganji, il y avait des articles du code électoral qui étaient lus chacun à sa façon. Je pense qu'on va trouver une façon de revenir là-dessus et de voir quelles sont les dispositions légales maintenant qu'on est vraiment à la fin du processus électoral. On sait que le Conseil constitutionnel va se prononcer dans les jours à venir. Je suis plus ou moins certaine que ça va être au plus tard à la fin de la semaine. Alors, si on a la possibilité d'avoir peut-être des hommes de loi pour en discuter et de comprendre tout ce qui est autour, même de ce qui pourrait se passer. Avec Rebecca, tout à l'heure, on se demandait qui va avoir le pouvoir ou est-ce qu'il y en aura un Etoudi, est-ce qu'il y en aura un à Gara ou ailleurs. Je pense que tout cela va nous permettre de mieux comprendre l'après-élection présidentielle au Cameroun.
Et j'ai aussi l'impression qu'il y a beaucoup de gens qui nous suivent qui vont aussi être, they want to be part of this conversation. They have a lot of questions to ask. They have contributions to make. So today was just like some sort of a trial, and we saw a lot of people are sending messages that they want to contribute. So probably from the next edition, we'll try to see how to incorporate that and get some of you to come on board. Yes, that's something that we are planning to do. But thank you so much, Eric and Rebecca. Thank you. It's been so amazing having you.
Yeah, Mimi.
Thank you.
Mimi, let me just say this. You know, this is a historic time for this country. Let's not miss the opportunity. Let every Cameroonian think about the history we're making at this time to set our country right again. Let all Cameroonians think about the disaster of, let me just point out 2 or 3 things. One, for 10 years, the president did not meet with his ministers. So there was absolutely no vision for the country, no direction. Everybody did as they pleased. We've got to correct that. It has nothing to do with whether you love or hate Mr. Biya. It was just because for the last 10 years, he's been unable. If he couldn't in the last 10 years, he cannot in the next 10 or the next 7 or the next 5. So we need a change in leadership.
It looks like this device isn't registered.
Until we have that change in leadership in Cameroon, let us not fool ourselves. Nothing is going to change. So I just want to say that your role, the role of Mimi Mefo Info, and all of us who are working to turn things around is critical at this time. Mimi, don't give up. And all of us, you know, Becky is with you. I know Bernard is with you. And your platforms together are reaching hundreds of thousands of Cameroonians. Let's keep that going until the end. And then hopefully that change will come. So thank you for what you're doing. Thanks, Becky. Thanks, Bernard. And Sandrine, ma petite, là, vraiment.
Sandrine is another level of.
I know.
Yes. Yes, thank you, Rebecca. Anytime I call, she's always there to say yes, I'll be on board today. So it's kind of, refreshing and also encouraging to know that we are not alone in this. We have big brains like you coming on board to analyze and say some of the things that we cannot say. It's really encouraging, and Cameroonians, they like to listen to you because you, Rebecca and Eric, you've got this very neutral perspectives. You've got, very objective way of looking at things, and you've been able to gain that credibility, not just in amongst Cameroonians at home, but Cameroonians abroad. The belief when they listen to you, they listen with an open mind, and in fact, the bottom line is you have a lot of credibility and a lot of people look up to you. So this time is very, very crucial for our country, and we have to keep the conversation. going, like you said. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
I don't know
Mimi,
if
for what
Bernard
you're
has.
doing. Thank
Okay.
you for what you're
It's
doing.
all of us. It's all of us. Bernard, do you have anything to say?
No, just to thank our guests who showed up today, and thank Eric and Eric and Rebecca for always being there, and just to Cameroonians who are looking forward to how the next few days are going to be. Stay strong, be optimistic, and know that you have leaders that are there to guide you, accompany you, and show you the light. But you are the main actors. They are not going to lead you. They are there just to help you. So stay strong, be prepared. The days ahead are tough. They are fierce, but you are fiercer.
That's right. Sandrine?
Ah non, plus rien à ajouter. Comme Bernard l'a dit, on a juste besoin de rester soudés, être ensemble, continuer de faire ce que l'on a à faire. Ce n'est pas une tâche facile, mais comme Eric le dit souvent, lorsqu'on a du cœur pour ce que l'on aime, on trouve un peu de temps pour pouvoir le faire. Merci à Rebecca, merci à Eric, merci à Bernard, merci à toi, Mimi. Much
Thank
love.
you all. Yes, thank you so much. And for Bernard said, for those who came in, the guests, it was a pleasure. And the MMI team working in the background, the production team, our producer, Jessica Kenya, who works every day to make sure this program takes place, reaches out to the guests, calls me and makes sure that we are here on time. I just want to say thank you because he's doing a tremendous job. And also Kingsley there in the background, taking care of the technical aspect of things, and also Master that everyone knows. I mean, the entire MMI team is just amazing to have you guys on board and seeing the good work that you do. Many people didn't know that we are such a big team until now, but yes, we have a fantastic team behind all of this, and I cannot stop saying thank you, thank you, thank you, everyone. So for those who are also supporting, I earlier mentioned that we have a Professor CH who supported us, and then we have Akbar 237. Please also reach out to Beyond and Africa podcast. If you go to the YouTube page of Bernard Ngalim, you will see the fantastic job that he is doing. Please try to be a member as well and support him. Share and subscribe to his YouTube channel. Rebecca is also there. Please also follow her so that whenever she's having these important conversations, you'll be the first to know. Sandrine is here. I've told Sandrine that she also needs a YouTube page because
Okay, we will go there. Don't
as
say
soon as
it
she has
loud.
one, we all have to follow her. And, we have to build this community and work together because I've seen that we are so strong together. From this election, we've seen the power of unity. Let's keep that fire burning. Let's never dim that light. And good night, everyone. Thank you all so much.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.